Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
And welcome to the Wednesday night hump day edition of Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. So glad you are here with us as we hang on out with Shaun Burris tonight. Extreme Paranormal is the title of the show. I'm going to tell you, Shaun has a great hair, beard, and mustache combination. You guys are going to be impressed. I'll tell you, if he shaves this beard, I want it for the studio. I totally want this one for the studio. All right, we got all of you here as well, which makes the show even that more exciting. Race fan in the gold medal position. Trucker Andrew with a silver. Dino Bravo taking home a bronze medal tonight. Laura Lobbs, Scotty in Yukon, and Jimmy Gonzalez. How you doing? Good to see you. And Chris 716, Robert Lamont, Skip to Malou. Nice to have you all here. Let's scroll on down. The lovely and talented Kira. We love you, dear. Hope you're doing well. Road Flare. How's it going, man? Lee the B and Mama Susan. What's happening? There's Mama Catherine. Mwah! I love you, my dear. And can't wait for your text in the morning. Number 14 in your program, starting at left wing tonight from Stockholm, Sweden, Lars Jansson. There he is. All right, moving on. Dewey Cheatham and Howe. Tim Mothman and Tim Mothman's goatee. Two separate entities. Vanessa, thank you for coming on in. Jennifer Patterson is here. Jennifer will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind. To the left of the studio. Digger Dog, Forrest Louie, how you guys doing? Thank you for coming on in. Scrolling on down, JSCO, Noble Patrick. And who else do we have? And Joanne, thank you all for coming on in. Bar Madison is back. Bar Madison will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind. To the right of the studio. W. David Page, Sandra Kincaid, David Hayworth. Good to see you all. Hi there, Pam Harris, Bash the Impaler, Helen Back. How you doing? And let's see. Little Cam over on Twitch. Thank you for joining us. And Flat 6, good to see you. Dragonfly. Destiny Rocks, and Forrest Louie, thank you so much for kicking off this Super Chat tonight. The Super Chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis, so thank you very, very much. Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. It's his first appearance this week, by the way. Moving on, we have Welsh Hammer. Wildman's Mom, how are you again? Thank you for joining us. And who else has showed up here? Mac Geek. Pixie Lara, how's the purple hair? Woo am I? What's happening? Thank you for coming on in. Hi, Nina Williams. And John P. Adventures. Good to see you. And Monica, thank you for coming on in. Hi, Susan Alloway. Good to see you. And let's see here. Bobbert, good to have you back. And who else is here? Kurt M. And let's see here. Scrolling on down. Oh, we have a Facebook user. Let's see who's Facebooking right now. Susan Lawrence, nice to see you. Moving on down, Scott Rosen. Sweet Robbie G. How you doing there, big guy? And Stephen Edmond, nice to have you back. Scrolling on down here, who do we have? We have, as I have an itchy nose, Canna Chef Chris, T. Toohey. Love you both. Coming on down the roll call here, Jimmy Gonzalez again. And who else? Political foolishness. Thank you for joining us. And we're caught up. Stargazer, how are you? All right, let's get the radio side going. As we say hello to everyone on the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight, my name is Dave Scott. We're going deep into the paranormal, supernatural, and the woo. Shaun Burris is with us. You may recognize him from A&E's Extreme Paranormal. He's got a great beard and mustache combination. We're pretty happy with that. And we say hello to Bill WD-40, who is lubing us up for tonight's show, because you always want to go into a show nice and smooth. You don't want to go rigid. That never feels very good. You got to go smooth. That's why Bill lubes us up. All right, Super Chat is open once again. And thank you, Forrest Louis, for kicking things off. Also, shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. Nothing ugly. No garage sale shirts, no painting shirts, nothing like that. Get your horns up. It's time to rock. Let's do this. Mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world. This, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire. Check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We got a great show for you tonight. Shaun Burris is here. Yeah, he's got a lot of good stuff going on. He's got a lot of woo in his pockets, a lot of woo down his pants, a lot of woo up in his shoulder area. This guy played football for a while. It's not padding that he was wearing. He was wearing woo on underneath his jersey. I can guarantee you that. I can totally guarantee you that. Then at hour number 3, Steve Stockton from Among the Missing kicks things off with a creepy story. Courtney Marcassani will be here later on with the UFO report. All right, I'm looking forward to this one. Shaun Burris was one of the stars of Extreme Paranormal on A&E, and he is now the creator and host of Shadow Nation. Shaun, who played semi-pro football in his native Indiana, loves and lives ghost stories. He is a paranormal investigator with a love for local legends, grew up in a haunted home, has over 16 years experience in paranormal research, and his main concentration, EVPs. Yeah, this guy calls himself the total package. I think he even flexes when he sees a ghost, just to scare it off a little bit. He'll tell us some good stories from his childhood that'll leave us on the edge of his seat wanting more. As well, we're going to find out why he's getting more out of the paranormal, even though it's still his baby, but he's getting more into Sasquatch, Dogman, aliens, UFOs. We're going to find out tonight. Shaun Burris, my good friend, welcome to Spaced Out Radio for the first time. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, Big Dave, on behalf of my Beard and Shadow Nation podcast and myself, I'd like to say thank you, sir, for having me in the house. And horns. Here's my horns. We got them up.
Nice. Very nice, man. It's good to have you here because, we love it when people such as yourself come in. You got all this experience. You got all these stories to tell. Man, you're like an encyclopedia when it comes to the paranormal and supernatural.
Oh, man, I tell you, Dave, I appreciate that. I've spent my whole life really looking at the paranormal from ghosts to what used to be called UFOs, now UAPs, to demons, to, you name it. I see my first exorcism when I was 13 years old in the back of a church. My dad was a deacon at. And I grew up in a home where a lady had killed herself. And I started to realize my parents had told me when we moved in that there was a lady that rented the room upstairs. True story. Hand to God. And I was probably, I don't know, 4 at the time. And I would be sitting on my floor, man, eating my fudge rounds, playing my Nintendo. And this lady, as real as you and I, as solid as you and I, would walk right in front of me in the screen. And I would think nothing. I would look at her. I would see her dress. I would feel the breeze of her coming by just like a regular human person, a solid matter. And she would turn the corner and that'd be it. You know, you'd go a couple more days, then you'd see her again. It wasn't until one night when I see my dad watching Monday Night Football, I'll never forget. And the lady walked across the front room and my dad turned his head to the left to continue watching the game as the lady walked in front of him and walked right through the wall outside of the house. And that's when I told my dad, how do people walk through walls? And they set me down because they got very religious, and they set me down and they said, well, son, we have a ghost in our house, because they didn't want me sleeping in the bed with them either. That was kind of cruel because my bed was right there. It was an old house, and the staircase from down upstairs was right there by my foot of my bed almost. And I mean, the classic stuff, you'd hear the whispers, you'd hear the footsteps on the bed, little tugging on the sheets, nothing like in The Conjuring or nothing where the, you know, blankets went flying across the room. The lady really didn't do anything, Dave. I was scared, you know, crapless for a long time. But then after a while, you kind of get used to it. And Dad, when he got into religion a lot, he started having the pastor, the priest come out and they would bless the house or whatever, but she never went anywhere. She continued to do her thing. She would show up, little things that were really weird that stuck out. One night, my brother and I were at home. He was babysitting me and we heard noises coming from the kitchen, and we went into the kitchen. And do you remember when we were kids, you didn't take a Coke bottle and throw it away. You put it back in the carton and you took it and you deposited it at the grocery store. Remember that?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, those were stacked on top of each other, like in a pyramid formation on the on the kitchen counter table. So that was my short form of my introduction into the paranormal. And since then, man, you know, I've spent my life from college on looking for the paranormal and researching psychology. And I wanted to know if I was crazy, if there was other people out there that was seeing these things. I knew my parents seen it. I knew my cousins that spent the night seen it, my grandmother, grandfather. So I knew it was happening, but I wanted to know if there was more like me out there.
I don't blame you.
Yeah. So I went to school. I studied psychology. And you know what's funny, Dave? Getting into this field, even when I was a police officer, which was short-lived, it was like 4.5 years. But on the psych test, they asked me, same in psych class in college, do you believe in aliens? Do you believe in ghosts? They asked those questions on the test, very biased. And I, of course, if I wanted the job at the police department, I put no. On both accounts, I don't believe in aliens. I don't believe in ghosts because I wanted the job. And you could see anybody with a brain knows what they're trying to do. They're trying to give you a psych eval. In college, of course, I said, yes, I believe in both. But the police department, I denied it. I denied believing in them, but I still got the job. And that only lasted a while. But yeah, I've been on the trail ever since. I'm not your typical, I'm not a ghost hunter. I'm a ghost experiencer. Ghost hunters are people that hunt things that they are not quite sure if they exist or not. I'm somebody that knows they exist, so I'm there to experience it. I like to go to the haunted places, man, and I live for it, and I love it. I love it. And I go to the places, and I try to interview the abductees and talk to the people, and lay out all night on the roof of my car with the camera going if I have to look for lights in the sky. And I'm actually starting a new project called My Haunted Backroads, which is going to be on YouTube as well. And I've already started it, but it's been a hit or miss because I told you I lost my mom in August. So I took some time off from podcasting and from doing all that. But I'm coming back stronger than ever and trying to get the word out there with the podcast, Shadow Nation. and my haunted back roads, man. So hopefully we get some good stuff coming up. There's a lot of abductees out there, more than I knew here in Indiana. And a lot of them are coming forward now, especially with, all the UAP talk and interdimensional travel in Congress. It's exciting times. So, yeah.
Yeah, I can totally see that. And, you and I have something in common. Unfortunately, I lost my mother in June.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Yeah,
Tough.
it's a big blow to you, when you go through something like that. So all the best and all the love from me to you back, going through this exact same thing, in our first year without our moms around, and God bless you for that. But I want to ask you, totally off topic, because you're an ex-semi-pro football player.
Yeah, I played for the Indiana Generals.
All right, I got to ask you, Super Bowl Sunday,
yeah,
San Fran, Kansas City.
Kansas City Chiefs, baby.
Oh, yeah.
Kansas City Chiefs. Of course, my team's the Indianapolis Colts, and we couldn't catch a 2-yard pass to win the game, so we deserve not to be there. But I get let down since Peyton Manning left. I've been let down quite a bit. So we're rebuilding. We'll get there. But Kansas City all the way. Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, talk about a big blow, though. I could talk sports all night long. I'm a former sports journalist, so what a big blow to you guys with Andrew Luck just saying, "Hey guys, I'm 28 years old, but I'm out of here."
Oh,
see
God.
ya. Thanks for the time.
Left us in the lurch.
Thanks for the 50 million. I'm out. But we'll take that. But hey, I want to talk to you about why you feel the need, after so many years of just studying the paranormal. Why do you feel the need to all of a sudden advance? Maybe not advance, may not be the right word, but let's say look into other parts of the phenomenon, like UFOs, like cryptids, and other parts.
That's a good question, Davo. I think I've always looked into it a little bit, but my attachment with the ghost, the paranormal was paranormal is beyond normal, so that covers a range of things, but with ghost, it was intimate with me because I experienced it. And that's what my passion started me with. But, the more I learn, and this, this is an academy to me, 15 years behind this microphone, late nights, just like you, researching, talking to publicists and arranging, getting guests on and all that stuff and editing. It's been a learning journey because the stuff you hear from your guests over the years. I've had Paul Hellyer on. He was the ex-minister of defense for Canada. I had some talks with him off air, and I was one of the last people. I was fortunate enough to be one of the last people, unfortunately, before he passed. And, the good stuff comes when the mics go off, usually, unfortunately for us. But, that man told me some stuff. Other people have told me some stuff, man, that just, I'm not so sure, Dave, that these things, these phenomena are so separated. Do you know what I mean?
I don't think they are either. But I can take you 25 miles from my house, okay, into an area where we have seen Bigfoot. We have seen orbs ripping through trees, different colors from white to yellow to orange, red, blue, to where UFOs have showed up and disappeared, to something being there that is so creepy, I would not even allow my son out of the vehicle.
Right,
okay?
right.
And I could take you to places, and I will, in my personal opinion, and I'm no expert, but the one thing that I know is people who say that this is not all part of the phenomenon overall have another thing coming when they open their eyes.
I think you're right. And I think there's anybody that's in tune with this stuff and that follows, radio shows like ours and things like that. There's a great awakening happening. I feel it. Can't you feel it? I mean, it's happening. I never thought in the halls of Congress or on the Senate floor in the United States, I would hear Canada's been talking about it for a while, but in the United States, we just now started talking about the possibility of interdimensional travelers visiting Earth and UAPs and whistleblowers coming forward without accidentally shooting themselves 6 times in the back of the head for a suicide attempt, So these things are coming out now. So it's a really interesting time to be in our field and to learn from these people and investigate these things that are going on. I've been on these cases, and I always try to broadcast live when I go out to some places. And sometimes I forget to heat up the microphone because stuff's happening so fast. It's I set up the cameras, and usually if you have the cameras running, you got all your tools set up, you get nothing. The minute you turn them off, everything happens. But it's interesting to answer your story, kind of how all this kind of tied in for me. I went to my first abductee interview, and the lady was the topic of a book, and it was here in Indiana, actually, but the old Bud Hopkins had written a book, and I tracked her down and I found this lady, and I asked if I could come see where this all had happened. And she didn't live at the house, of course, anymore, but I went and I met with her, and she took me to the place where the craft had landed in her backyard. Until this day, Dave, the grass will not grow in that area.
Wow.
It will not grow. It's a round patch. Now, somebody could have had a pool there and took it down right before I got there. I don't know. But she has pictures from the house that look just the same, a round patch where the grass will not grow. And that's exactly where the craft landed. And it was a medium-sized craft. And her story was that she was in the house doing dishes, and her kids were outside playing. She seen lights in the backyard. She ran outside, and boom, all of a sudden she was taken. And I think it was called Abduction at Copley Woods was the story. The total name change of the woods, the area, everything. Bud Hopkins changed all that. But I got to go to the house, and I talked to her, and I got to look in her eyes, brother, and I got to hear her voice. And she convinced me that what she experienced was real. And I tell you, the more and more I learned, Dave, I'm not a fearful man. I've chose to reach out into the darkness by doing this stuff and see what's there. But the more and more I learn and the more and more I see, there's definitely a dark side to this phenomena. It's not all rainbows and sunshine and little green men.
It plays with you, man. It totally plays with you, and it is the it is the ultimate mind messer, because
Yes.
I can't use the saying that I would want to use on terrestrial radio, but it is a very, very scary thing. But the one thing that I have learned, as screwed up as it is, it really seems like the phenomenon, the more you delve into it, whether it's ghosts like you're very familiar with, or UFOs or cryptids, I really do believe that the phenomena only gives you what it feels you can handle.
Exactly.
And that may be the worst of the worst of alien abductions, but the phenomena, I think, allows you to do that. I mean, there's something, and I hate to use this term because I'm not a religious man. I'm a very spiritual man, but I have a strong belief in God. Is there's something godly about the phenomena, way more than what we actually know. And I think that's what keeps the secret keepers in the US government and around the world, like places like the Vatican and elsewhere, it keeps them very silent because of the fear of the power of the phenomena.
I agree.
And they don't want to scare the population.
I agree 100%. The Vatican, and don't even get me started with the governments and stuff, because this stuff has been covered up. Whatever we see come out now, you can bank that it happened 60 years ago. This technology, this stuff that we see, I am 100% certain, I would put my life on it, that the technology, the craft, all these things, because all these craft that we're seeing, some of them are man-made. Dr. Stephen Greer, I don't know how you feel about him. Some people have mixed feelings about him. He was right to a certain point. He could be right about everything. I don't know. But I like his false flag theory, that we're re-engineering these craft and we're going to use them as like a final blow to wage war at some point. We're going to start it's going to be our craft, but it looks like the classic UFO. And we're going to start showing up and zapping things and saying, wasn't us, it was the aliens. So, we better band together and just the war machine, keep the gears turning. That's what Dr. Greer was talking about. But it just goes so much deeper than that. I have so many questions, and every time I answer one, I get 50 more. Like in the basement, tell me this, Dave, why is there in the United Nations headquarters, okay, why is there in the basement one room called the meditation room that I don't know if you knew about or not? I didn't until about a week ago. It has a golden pyramid with one beam of light coming out of the top, and it's shining down on an ancient marble table. You can Google it right now, meditation room, UN headquarters. Why is that there? I mean, it's hidden in plain sight. I mean, you could say it's a prayer room or whatever. There's no religious icons in there. It's not like a hospital chapel or anything like that. I don't know. Why do they have meetings at night where they chant and do things? Why is Bohemian Grove a thing that we've allowed to continue on for centuries without people asking what is going on? Why are world leaders praying to an owl and sacrificing, burning these fake dummies of humans into this pit, except Alex Jones? Alex, do you remember that video? He went out there with the hidden cam or whatever and got some stuff, and they went nuts over it. But that's a real thing. It's a real thing. And, when I'm talking to people today, and I know you probably get this too, but when I start talking to them about the alien stuff and everything that's going on, they just kind of glaze over. They're like, yeah, well, it's almost like we've been the sheep. We've fallen in line for so long. That's most of the reason I keep doing the podcast. It keeps me straight, keeps me on my toes, because to quote a phrase from a very classic television show, the truth is out there, but it's guys like you and I that are going to bring it forward with the help of some whistleblowers from inside stuff. But you can't trust all them either. If non-disclosure agreements have been signed, and they're only going to tell you as much as their masters let them. So it's really people like us, investigative journalists, that are off the chain, that go on the air every night and talk about thoughts and what they've experienced and stuff like that. And then when you put it all together at the end of the day, I think that's where we're going to find our direction, figure out what's going on. And I think they hate us for that, Dave. I do.
Well, of course they do. I have had Rich Hoffman, decorated scientist, works for the U.S. Army as a contractor, part of the SCU, part of many different organizations regarding UFOs, say on this show he wishes all of us in ufology, all of us experiencers, podcasters, radio hosts, would just shut up about this topic.
Of course.
Because we are allegedly wrongly influencing the audience about what the phenomena is all about. And basically, he wants all of us to go away, allow real science to do their job, and then they'll come out and tell us what's going on.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You can't tell me what I can and cannot do, because you weren't there when that UFO landed in front of me. Right. You weren't there when I met aliens in the forest. You weren't there when an alien appeared at my window while we're broadcasting this show on April 20th, 2015. Okay. It scared the living daylights out of me. You weren't there when he came back and him and his friends were having a conversation in my backyard and up my driveway, just like the movie Signs. You weren't there. Okay. So don't sit there and tell me to go away and wait for your answer when you don't even know what the hell happened to me, because you're worried about propulsion and 0 point energy and gravity. I don't care about that.
Yeah.
Tell me why me. Then you got some science. You know what I'm saying? Shaun Burris, we're getting fired up here on Spaced Out Radio. I love it. We're having a great conversation. When we return, Shaun's going to give us some of his top paranormal stories on what spooks him and what's freaked him out. We got more on Spaced Out Radio right after this. Stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back. All right, we are clear I just want to say hello quickly to Big J. How you doing? Joe's Maine, you've got nice beardage. And let's see who else is here. Perminator, how you doing? Welcome back. And did I miss anybody else? Finkelstein, what's happening? And Trace and Christine Lynn, thank you for coming on in. And let's see who's on Facebook here. Ozzy Ange, nice to see you. John Lobin, John Marks, and Sparkles. How you doing? Good to see you. All right, buddy. We are caught up. And all right. Where are we here? Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Years now. She always makes me pronounce her name 3 times. Like Beetlejuice going to show up in my studio one day. Beetlejuice. Right?
Am I allowed to talk right now?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know the rules. Okay.
I actually encourage it.
What's up, everybody?
Thank you, Monica. How did you like doing paranormal TV?
Hate it. I hate being part of Hollywood. It's cutthroat. Saw your head off, just like podcasting or radio business. But it paid the bills.
Right.
And it allowed me access to a lot of places that I wouldn't have been able to go, on my own. So yeah, I guess it was both, man. But TV's great. That's terrific. But I don't run down halls screaming, I can't do it on cue, Dave. I just can't do it.
Yeah. You know what? My only beef with the paranormal television is it's the different teams going to the exact same location as the previous show just did.
Exactly.
We don't need to see Waverly Hills 18 times a year on television.
But as long as people keep buying it and subscribing.
I hear you, my man.
I don't know how some of these guys still have followers. I just don't get it. They told us, well, when we did Extreme Paranormal, we held nothing back. Nothing. We promised ourselves we were not going to hold nothing back, and we did not. And they didn't like that because it got scary even for them. And there were some other groups that were just coming out with their TV shows at the time that got their followers together and got let's just say they played dirty. Got us pulled off with Extreme Paranormal. But I came back as the host just a couple years ago on Travel Channel of Evil Things. And I really liked that because it allowed me to tell my story my way. I didn't have to run down halls. I never faked anything. And I told them I'll never fake anything. But you have to overreact to things in television. I'll tell you all the time, you see guys faking stuff left and right nowadays, but we would actually get an EVP or something, and they would turn around and say, okay. Now, when we come back, we want you to react to that more, because I'd get a man scream or something on EVP, and I'd be like, guys, listen, this is amazing. They'd say, whoa. And then what you get on camera is, guys, come here, hurry. Oh my God. And the music builds up and they go to commercial, and it's a show. So if you're going to sign a contract, you're signing away your rights. That's it.
Yeah.
They turn you into what they want.
Which is which I can understand, okay, because you have to have some sort of consistency. I get that.
True.
There's artistry to it, but did you hear that when they got the music cranked? I can't stand it. Here we go. Give me 2 seconds. Thank you to Forrest Louie, Jennifer, Monica, and Deb for the super chats. Here we go with the second hour. I think that second half hour. All right, here we go. Second half hour, Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Always appreciate earning all your listening ears. Reminder to all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go. Shaun Burris is here. You might remember him from A&E's Extreme Paranormal. Well, he's got a great new thing out, man. Great new thing. And what has he got going? It's called Shadow Nation. It's on YouTube. Make sure you go hit subscribe, ring that bell to it. He's a good friend of ours, and we want our supporters to support our friends. So, Shaun, welcome back.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Shadow Nation podcast. We love it. The support, man. Can't have enough. We got to get together, Dave. We got to get this big team of us together. We got to stay tight and put some people around us, because I tell you, it's getting down to, we're going to be the last bit of truth givers and seekers that's going to be left on the planet, because the news media is already taken. What's it owned by, like 2 companies worldwide? They own all the news outlets. And, so that's why podcasting and radio is getting so big now, because you can go rogue. But, I've had them take me off before from something I said. You know what was funny? I was doing an interview, and right before the break, we were talking about, how much they hate us, right? They hate us telling stuff and believe in science. And listen to what I say, Dave. And we have a method for that. And you and people like Shaun are just throwing them off with your goofy little shows. So my question, my response to that is, what science should we follow? The one that just was shattered 2 weeks ago by the James Webb Telescope, that the Big Bang Theory might not be, in fact, the beginning, what we thought it was? Exactly what science would you like us to follow, sir? That's what I would like to ask NASA and all the smart A's out there that think they know so much. And they don't. Actually, I take that back. They do. But they don't want you to know, the people that pay for it. And that's the same with any government anywhere on this globe. Power is power, and whoever has it does not want to relinquish it to no one. And they don't want guys like me and you out there, Dave. We're hurting their biz, man.
Oh, hey, man, I fully agree. And I mean, this is where I think what we're starting to see, and I'm mind if I put a little tinfoil on here for a second?
Put it on. Give me some.
Okay. I honestly believe that we are starting to see more and more alphabet agencies, and I can't prove this. Okay. I think we're starting to see more and more alphabet agencies get involved in podcasting and YouTube channels to try and maybe influencers try and get this subject off of its rails. I really believe that. I see so many more people popping up. I was watching one channel today. This guy's been around for, I'm not going to say the name of the show, okay, because I don't want to popularize him. But this guy's been around for maybe a year, if that, okay? He's not doing much. He's already got 10,000 subscribers on YouTube in his short time. He's only got maybe 15, 16 videos up. And already his videos are hitting 58,000 views. Dude, I have been doing this for 9 years. I have maybe 2 videos that have hit 50,000.
Right.
Okay. And I'm trying to play the YouTube game with the algorithms and the keywords that you build in to attract people and so on and so forth. Now, I'm either a real dummy when it comes to this, or something is happening where there is a shift in people who have these skeptic type shows coming on and absolutely berating our topics.
Right there. Right there. That's what it's all about, man. I'm telling you, the Illuminati. And I know I sound like a tinfoil hat, guys, but this stuff is real. Look at my eyes. Dave knows this stuff is real. We've interviewed these people, we've talked to them, and we try to tell the listeners out there and the viewers that we're screaming to the sky. The sky's falling. The sky's falling. And we're hoping people are listening, and they hate us for it. And, I was going to tell you, I had Dr. Heather Lynn on. She's a PhD. She did a bunch of books on just last Sunday, I had her on the show, the Anunnaki, the rise of the Anunnaki, which of course was the ancient Sumerian gods. They had the tablets, gods or aliens. They've discussed that for forever, but they were the ones, the Sumerians said in their written text, that taught them irrigation and basically civilization, planting, stuff like that, how to make food and buildings and all this stuff. And then they ascended into the heavens. And we were talking about all this stuff. And then she started getting to a point, and this has only happened probably 4 or 5 times to me. And we use similar stream broadcast services. So, it doesn't just drop a lot of the times, it doesn't just drop. So I'm on there, I'm talking to her, and we start going into the Dybbuk box, which is something I'll get into. It's one of the
that's good stuff.
Yeah, very terrifying thing that happened to me because it brought my family. Whatever comes after me is fine. I chose this life. I chose to research it. Game on. But when you come for my family, then it gets personal. And she wrote a book called Evil Archaeology. And I put the picture up on the screen. And the moment I did, it showed Satan, and it showed, just the symbol she had on the book. And I start talking about the Dybbuk box. Boom. I lost her. Never had it happen before, ever, using the broadcast stations that we use. I lost her. And I tried to get back to her. I couldn't access her feed. I couldn't get back to her email. I kept sending her messages. She couldn't receive even text messages from me on her phone, Dave. And then all of a sudden, boom, she reappears on my screen. So I went right back to it, and I shoved the picture back up there, and we started talking about the same thing. They're not going to stop us, but I can't say that was, but I'm telling you, Dr. David Gallagher, America's exorcist psychologist, he has to review every exorcism to see if it's credible or not before it gets done, before the rite is done. Every person that says they're possessed in the United States, he reviews the case before the Vatican will approve an exorcism. He's been on the show 2 or 3 times, author of Demonic Foes. Awesome guy, Dave. Awesome. You got to get him on. He told me that demons love messing with electronics. Love it. And he told me a story of Julia. It was a case that he was working on with a priest. Julia was 60 miles away, and they were working together on this case. And the priest was across town, and Dr. Gallagher was at his house. And all of a sudden, they're having a phone conversation, and a third voice comes in and says, "Leave her alone," like that, like a man's voice. And the doctor for a minute said, "Did you hear that, Father?" And the father said, yeah, I did. He said, sometimes in cases like this of demonic possession that are so intense, demons will produce that. They'll interfere with electronics. They have dominion over things like that, And if you go back to think what Tesla said, all we are Anything is spirit, energy. It's all energy, vibration, and frequency. Every single thing here, the spirits, the demons, the angels, the gods, you name it. That's why we're all one. You're me, I'm me. We're together with the same with the tree, this microphone, everything. And that's why they can affect us. And that's why they can affect what things we use. And it's really a mental struggle. It's a power of the mind and breaking free of the matrix that we see every day. So, but I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen, man, so many times. But I thought that was weird. Just last Sunday that happened. I dropped her. I couldn't even send her a text. Really? My phone messed up and my computer at the same time. What's the odds?
Right? I mean, it just honestly does not make sense. It doesn't make sense, and this is where there's some issue. Okay, where's the issue? Why are these stories being blocked? Why are these stories being held back? I mean, these are experiences that are happening to normal, everyday people. So why do we have to hold them back? Why do we have to insult people about what they've experienced on that end? This is what I'm not getting. Really not getting it.
Right. I think the more of us that get together and share these stories, sooner or later, people are forced to open their eyes and go, okay, maybe something's happening. Because the government, the other side, will say, is trying to fight that. That's trying to suppress that. Just like you were told, Dave. You guys are just muddying the waters. Follow the science. You got to follow the science. Science is in search of. It's an ever-growing thing. It's not written in stone. We have a scientific method that's solid, but everything we've found from science, you can either grow on or has completely been destroyed by other scientists' theories or experiences. So, I put more emphasis on what I see with my eyes and my mind. And I know those can be tricked too, but when you see it right in front of you and other people witness it with you, I mean, how many of us could be fooled? You know what I'm saying? You can't tell me everything I've experienced and everyone I've ever spoken to that has experienced anything out of the norm. Everybody's nuts, or we've all had mass hypnosis or mass memory loss or whatever they want to call it.
I hear you.
But I love it. I love being a thorn in their side. So I don't want to dart to the back of the neck one day or something. I don't get paid to do my radio, my podcast, but if I do, I do whatever. I'd rather go out trying to champion something than not. So, but what's that, Dave? I was going to tell you about the Dybbuk box. Who knew that podcasting could be dangerous, huh?
Well, do me a favor for our audience who may not know what a Dybbuk box is. Fill us in.
Okay. Well, if you look at the shelf right behind me, for some of you guys can't see it, but that brown thing right in the middle, the guys that can see it, that's a replica that was given to me right in the middle there by the owner, Jason Haxton of the Dybbuk box. And what the Dybbuk box is just a wine box. It has a little bottom drawer and it has two folding doors that open up. And when they open, all three drawers open at once. The two big doors and the bottom drawer. It all opens at once. Now, the story goes with the Dybbuk box that a lady had this wine box. It was used just for wine, but she was in the Holocaust and she was in one of the camps. And the only thing they had was this box. And they used it as a prayer box for they could have their prayer ceremonies every day while they were in the camps. And little by little, her family, terrible story. They were taken to the gas houses, whatever. She survived. That's the silver lining. She went through the gas houses and the fires, and she pulled out hair and teeth and fingernails because she was so distraught of losing her family. That was as close as she could get to what was left of them. And she put them in baggies and she put them inside this box. she finally, the Allied forces, United States, we liberated. Everybody knows World War II. We freed the Jews, and a lot of them come to the United States to start a new life. Well, this young lady did. She came with the clothes on her back and the Dybbuk box, which at the time was just a wine box. It was used as a prayer box. And inside it, like I said, had the teeth and the hair and the fingernails and whatever else she could find that she thought might have been her family. Somehow, over the years, this artifact, this wine box, went from a holy thing, a symbol of holiness, to pure evil. That story's kind of blurry there. They don't really go into what happened. The only thing, the story was an antiques dealer was at an estate sale. And he comes up to a young lady and he sees the box and he offers her some money for it. And she said, absolutely, you can have it. And he said, well, I need the key. How do you open it up and whatever? And she says, well, you'll have to lock it. We don't have the key to it anymore or whatever. And he said, okay. Well, it's going to lower the price, but I'll take it. So he offers it to her. And the young lady says, I'm giving you this box. It was going to be buried with my grandmother. And he said, what? He said, this box was to be buried with my grandmother, but she's Jewish faith. And Jewish faith does not allow belongings to be buried with the person when they die. So he said, okay. He said, are you sure you want to sell this? She said, absolutely. Absolutely. And she went on to tell him the story of how she came to the United States with this box and all that stuff. So the man took it back and he cleaned up the box and he was going to give it to his mother for Mother's Day. Beautiful box. Beautiful. Had great fonts on the front of it and just a beautiful box. And he finally gets it open and he sees what's inside. And you could imagine little baggies of hair and fingernails and teeth, and he couldn't believe what he's looking at. So of course he takes that out and he puts it to the side and he cleans it all out inside. And it has a little candle holder in it, a little communion cup, and something else. I forget. It's like some kind of prayer ribbon or something. So he takes all that and he puts it back in the box, except for the hair and teeth and all that. And he gives it to his mother later that evening. She has a massive stroke. The moment she touches the box, the antique owner's mother had a massive stroke right there. The story is that she can only utter 2 words after that, and that was evil box. When she was recovering, evil box. That's what she told him. He's like, "How, Mom? How you doing? Evil box, evil box." So the man puts it on eBay, puts everything back in it, and he puts it on eBay. He's a salesman. He's got an antique shop. Well, a young boy buys it off of eBay, and he happens to go to college in Missouri, where Jason Haxton's from. Jason Haxton is a curator at the Medical Museum at, I don't know if it's Missouri University. Forgive me for not knowing the university name, but it's Central Missouri, something like that. But anyway, Jason Haxton is the curator of the Medical Museum. This boy gets this. He's the highest bidder on the box. He gets it back to the dorm room. They're all having fun. The man put the story up there, possibly haunted box. This is when stuff started getting, everything was haunted, right? People started putting up, oh, this picture's haunted. You better buy it. Oh, this is haunted. Oh, this doll's haunted. $50, 50. This was one of the first things. And the guy put it up and he never said haunted, but he said strange things surrounding this box. Caution. So the kid thought it was cool. Of course, he's in college, everything. So they're putting beer cans on it and having the girls over and, laughing and getting the girls all spooked up and everything. And they're having a good time. And the boy starts noticing over the weeks that he had it, that he would wake up and clumps of hair were falling out on his pillow. This is a young man. It's an 18, 19-year-old man. And then he noticed that his eyes got really, really red all around the retina. And then tears of blood. They got so red, his eyes bled. So he went to the doctor and he thought, well, I've touched this box. This is arsenic. Or this is something. So he went to the doctor, medicals. They did test on him. They couldn't find anything. So he calls Jason Haxton because he's the curator at the Medical Museum. And he was also one of his professors. And he talks to him about this box. And Jason says, well, I'll tell you what, if you let me have it, I'll take the box and I'll run tests on it. Because it has to be something. You've come into contact with something on the box. You've touched your eyes and your face or whatever. And this is what's causing all this to happen. And the boy said, well, one more thing. I'm also seeing the shadow figure of a woman in my room at night. And I'm not sleeping. She's tearing at my chest and my legs, and all these things are happening. And there was a fire in the kitchen for no reason. And he said, I'm really afraid of this box. So Jason says, well, let me test it. So Jason does all the tests on it. He can't find arsenic. He can't find anything that could be causing eyes to bleed, hair to fall out, radiation traces, anything like that. So he tells the kid, I'll tell you what, I'll take the box. Kid said, you got it. It's yours. I don't want it. So Jason takes the box back home. And I went out to Jason's house. He's a cool guy. I believe him 100%. He's aged. He's not looking for fame or fortune, which he didn't get from the Dybbuk box. This man's a scholar, at the medical museum. So he didn't need the Dybbuk box story to boost him up. But he takes it home. And after about a week, he starts noticing his wife's hair fell out, some of it. And, it didn't hit him at first because it was just a little bit in the shower or whatever. And he said, and then he noticed some of his hair was falling out when he would go to the shower. When he would wake up, he'd see somebody's hair on the pillow. And he said, it still didn't hit me until one night I was laying in bed and I woke up and I seen the ugliest old woman I've ever seen. And of course, we're thinking sleep paralysis, right? Everybody talks about the woman on top and you can't breathe and all that. He said, no, Shaun, I wasn't asleep, man. I wasn't asleep. I know what sleep paralysis is. He said, this woman was standing there. I could smell her breath. She was so close to my face and then she was gone. And he said, I even let that go. But then he said, I woke up and my eyes were full of blood. So he goes to his physician, and the physician said, I don't know what you've gotten into. He said, there are, I forget what he told me, certain conditions that can cause this, but it's rare. And, so anyway, everything that happened to this kid is now happening to Jason. So Jason finally says, this is in my head. This is nothing. This is no big deal. So lightning strikes his house and his car and starts a fire and almost burns the house down, and Jason says, okay, last straw. I can't do this. And while the fire is going, he's seeing the shadow of that woman walking in a circle in the front room. He's seen it with his wife and his 2 children and himself. So he takes this box and he sets it outside for the rest of the night. The fire department comes, puts out the fire, everything. He calls the rabbi the next day. A rabbi comes out, and the rabbi tells him, what is this? I feel from this box, there's a Dybbuk. And Jason didn't know what a Dybbuk was, which is a malicious spirit, a demon. He said, someone's put a Dybbuk in this box. Someone's put a Dybbuk in this box. And he said, I'm sorry. How do you put? And he said, I don't know, but this box has to be buried in a proper way. So they take the box and they put it, they went to an Amish community, and the Amish made this beautiful wooden box with 14 karat gold encasement inside the box. And they had these blessed prayer ribbons that the rabbi blessed, and they put the box down inside this Amish made box. They wrapped the prayer ribbons over it, shut it, put it in a military case, temperature controlled case, buried it in 3 foot of earth in a secret place. And that's where it stayed until, of course, he sold it to Zach Baggins.
And on that note, Shaun, I'm going to get you to hold on right there. Man, you timed that out nicely. Spaced Out Radio, Hour Duck 2 with Shaun Burris from Shadow Nation Podcast. Just type in Shadow Nation Podcast on YouTube. Make sure you hit the subscribe button like I did, and we want to see you there. Spaced Out Radio continues. More Paranormal Supernatural right after this. All right. Hi, Guardian Jackpot. How you doing? We have the arrival of the dirty one himself, Dirty Filth. We'll say nothing, because that's just who he is. Just say nothing, Filth. Just say nothing. Jennifer, I missed a super chat from you. I'm sorry. All right. Shaun, I'm going to take a quick break. I'm going to turn things over to Dirty Filth here, as he is our resident cartoonist. We got about 5 minutes here. I'm just going to make him nice and big here.
So I'm going to take a break too. Is that all right?
You go, man. I'll be
all
right
right,
back.
guys.
Dirty, it's all on you now, man.
It's all on me. Me and my nice bald head. You can't see my bald dome, but it's there. Don't worry. I had to go and unload a whole bunch of stuff from my work. Otherwise, I'd have been here earlier. I apologize for my tardiness. Hope everybody's having a good night. Bob Birkins. Hello, Bob. Look at those hands, Bob. Look at them. Hi, Jeff Garvey. This is going to be a themed drawing. Let's see here. Because it's almost the... Oh, boy. It's almost Valentine's, so I figured I'd do some cryptid Valentine's things for this year. I have to make them as cheesy as possible. Oh, I'm going to cut myself severely. This is unsafe, by the way. Do not. I'm a trained professional. Don't try this at home. Yeah, I know. People leave. Whoops. That's why I cut it open. It's liquid paint, but I like this brand as it's dried. I guess I could buy the dry pallets, but it's not the same. It's just how it works. Anyways, I'm rambling away. The Dybbuk box. Cats are bugging me. Aren't those cursed boxes? I wonder if Merle has one of those. Yeah, Bob here. There we go. I've collected a blob. In other news, I had one of the drivers that pick up freight for my work. We're talking about UFOs and junk. And I got him to check out the show. So hopefully he's listening or watching. Kind of cool. I had to ask him if he ever seen any UFOs or anything on his long truck driving hauls across Canada. Apparently a couple of times you see some strange things. Oh. This is going to feature Sasquatch and Valentine's Day theme. I'm not a very good poet, so the joke itself is actually really cheesy and terrible. Cats are absolutely out of control, except for Blob.
All right. How you doing, Dirty?
Oh, not bad. There's a blob hanging out with me, Dave.
Where's Blobbert? There he is. Or she is.
She's about 10,000 years old, Dave.
I know. Shaun, she's the star of the show.
She's beautiful. I love kitties.
Yeah, she pretty soon she'll actually put her paws up on the art to tell Filth where to drop.
I got to get some help too. I need some filth in my show.
Mm.
Oh yeah, I'll come draw a cartoon for you someday.
I got to get it. I got to. You Canadians stick together. I tell you, it's all
We do.
it's all cutthroats over here in America. Nobody wants to help nobody.
Hi, attorney. How you doing? And who else has joined us here for hour two? I like this. Great comment, Phil Bacca. F. Bob Ross. All hail. That's right.
He was part of the conspiracy.
That's right. My brother Eugene, how you doing? Always much love for you, my friend. And we got 18 seconds. Thank you to Jennifer ×2, Louie, Monica, Deb, and Faze Will for the super chats. Very much appreciate the love. Don't forget to shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. Here we go with hour two.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is underway. We're talking paranormal with Shaun Burris tonight from Shadow Nation. Yeah, we're having a good time with him. But before we bring him back in, we want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Cabasset. Cabasset is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go with Shaun Burris from Shadow Nation Podcast. You can find him on YouTube or at shadownation.com. Shaun, thank you so much for being here tonight, my man. Really appreciate the story about the Dybbuk box right before the break.
Absolutely. The Dybbuk box. I got to tell you the best part, though, Dave. Now, that week, before it went to Zach Bagans' Las Vegas Museum, I went to I had Jason Haxton on my podcast. And that's why I said I never knew podcasting was dangerous until that night. And he brought the box. And we were looking at it, and we were going over, the history of it. And every time I started talking about the concentration camps and the dark history with the box, I started getting interference on the line. Every time Jason would answer me, sounded like a whisper underneath his voice. I couldn't understand him. And when I would talk, it was as clear as I'm talking to you right now. But when I would ask him a question, same thing. There would be like a whisper undertone. And I my board looked fine. I didn't see any strange noises coming through. And then I heard what it sounded like. You can go back and listen to my archives on shadownation.com. A woman sounds like she screams, like it spikes, but it didn't spike on my soundboard. So clearly whatever was happening wasn't being picked up in reality. It was weird. And then I started hearing knocking on the wall next to my studio, which was my kids' room at the time. And there was nobody in the room. And finally I told Jason when we came back from commercial, I said, Jason, I can't, we're not going to be able to do this. He said, yeah, man, I'm sorry. I told you this happens when the Dybbuk box, we have it on anytime we discuss it. If it's in studio, this has happened before. So I'm thinking nothing of it. I had a co-host at the time, Nathan, and So I'm getting ready to close out the show with Jason. I'm saying, I'm sorry, Jason. I'm got to have you back on. Of course, he's apologizing. And all of a sudden I get these text messages on my phone, and it's Nathan showing me his back, and he's got black and blue marks on his back, black and blue, about the size of a man's fist. And there's 6 of them all the way across his back. And he texts me in chat, private chat, and he says, bro, we got to end the show. My back's on fire. So I said, okay, so good night, Jason. I'll talk to you soon. We'll reschedule. Okay, that's it. We close out the show. And I told Nathan, what happened? He said, I don't know. My back just started burning. And he sent me the pictures, and it looked, you can actually see them on the website. It looks like men handprints, like he had been smoked in the back 6 times. And I said, well, go ahead and post them on the Facebook page. Tell them it happened during the show. Don't tell them it's spiritual or supernatural, because we don't know, but it's strange that it happened when it did. And he said, okay, I'll do it. So I went upstairs. I grabbed a beer like I always do after the show, sit down and watch Sunday Night Football. And within 15 minutes, I hear the loudest boom I've ever heard. The floor shook, the window shook, everything. My daughter got out of bed. Daddy, 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 daddy. All the lights went off. I'm sitting there in the dark. The lights finally come back on in all the house except for the studio. Studio lights would not come back on. The wife and the daughter go back to bed. Within another 10 minutes, I start smelling such a strong odor of gas. My eyes are tearing up. So I call the gas company. And I said, could you send somebody out? Because I think there's a gas leak or something, whatever. So I go out, because I know we're going to have to leave. Something's wrong here. I go out, and as soon as I go out, the gas man's there, and he said, get your family out now. Now, this is the same night of Jason Haxton breaking into the big box on the show, of Nathan getting the punch marks on his back. And this is all happening 15 minutes after I went upstairs to get a beer and watch football. Now the boom happened, woke up my daughter and wife. Now the gas man shows up, says, get your family out now. So I go, I grab my pajamas and a fast, quick bag. I wake up my wife and daughter. I grab their stuff. We get in the car. I go to start it. I turn the switch, the ignition. The dome light goes, boo. I said, great. I got a dead battery. So we get in the wife's car. We go, we spend the night in the hotel room. Next day, we come back to the house. It's daylight. Now, mind you, it was not raining. There was no rain. There was no thunderclouds. It was a clear night. Somehow, there was a 3-foot hole next to my front left driver's tire on my car that I didn't notice in the dark, where a lightning bolt had struck my car, and it had ignited and burnt. Again, all can be confirmed on the website. It had burnt my driver's side seat to a crisp and blew off the armrest, burnt that to a crisp and blew that off in the back seat. Totally fried my car. And the gas man was there to meet us, and he said, I hate to tell you this, but your family, you guys should be dead. I said, what are you talking about? He said, well, your pilot light was going. And he said, it's the darndest thing. The gas main in the street broke, but the only house that it was pumping with gas was yours. And I said, how's that happen? How's that happen? He said, I don't know, but that's what happened. And we ended up clearing the block just to be safe, but we've checked everybody else's house. And he said, your house had one point of entry and it was overexposed. There was so much gas coming through. And I said, well, could you show me where it came in? What room in the house do you think the gas was coming in through?
Your studio.
The studio. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Goodness.
That's where it was coming through. So we came back. The side of the house was dug up. They fixed the main, and everything went back to normal. A couple days after that, I received a book in the mail from Jason Haxton called The Dybbuk Box. And on the inside, it said, thanks, Shaun, for everything. I can't wait to reschedule and come back on the show. And of course, I told Jason, I called him right away and told him what had happened. And he said, I told you. And I told the wife, and she actually told me, because she's not a non-believer. She was, until she started seeing some of the stuff where I took her to see things. But she said, you might have to get out of this or we might not be able to be together anymore. Because, you know, my daughter, my family. So I took it personal. So Monsters in America or whatever called a couple weeks ago. They gave me a chance, or a couple weeks after that, they gave me a chance to go down and film an episode. And it's like a shark attack victim. Dave, they say if you're on a surfboard and you get struck by a shark, if you don't get right back on the surfboard, you never will. So for the first time in the paranormal, I was scared. I'll admit it. I was scared. I was scared for my family. I was scared for myself. And I had to go see this thing. So I went to Jason's house and I crawled on my belly through the dirt and came face to face with this evil inside these two different boxes, a military temperature control box, the Amish box with 14 karat gold and the prayer ribbons wrapped around it. And he opened it up and he let me see it. And I could just feel the vibration off of it. I could feel the evil to this box. And, you know, he told me he would never get rid of it, that he was going to keep it and pass it down. And they were going to be like the Lincoln Guard of the thing. That way it couldn't be. But apparently that plan went to plan B, and he gave it to Zach Baggins to rest in his museum in Las Vegas. So that's where it sits today. That was my experience with the Dybbuk box. I've had numerous things like that happen over my career doing this stuff, but that was one that got my family involved. I don't like that. So I've never had somebody bring another cursed object in the house. I have a couple haunted objects that have been blessed here in studio, but nothing like that again in the house ever.
One of the weirdest things I've ever had happen on this show is a number of years ago, there was a gentleman named Anthony Kenyatta who had a haunted doll named Harold. Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of people didn't buy the story of Harold. They all thought he was making it up, and he believed that the soul of the devil was inside this doll. And he says to me, Dave, you know, like a lot of these people, you know, you feel like they're trying to build it up. He says, Dave, you know, don't be surprised if something strange happens while we're on the air, like the phone keeps hanging up or something along those lines. And I'm thinking, okay, well, but the skeptic side of me is, the journalist side of me is like, okay, well, that's easy to prove if you know, how do I know you're not just hanging it up for drama, right? So about 45 minutes into the show, we're talking about Harold the Haunted Doll. And God is my witness, man. I see something out of the corner of my eye. And I turn and look to my left. It was over my left shoulder. And there is about a 4.5, 5 foot tall, cloaked skeletal being standing right beside me, black cloak.
In studio.
And I jumped and I'm like, Anthony, you're not going to believe what I just saw in the studio. Like, it was just split second. And ever since then, I was like, okay, there's something real to this doll.
Yeah.
But that one got me.
Yeah.
That one really got me. But I mean, things happen, man. Like the residual effects that could affect like your show or my show or something. A lot of people think, you know, that we're making this stuff up. We're trying to do it for ratings and popularity. Yeah. You know, like when I had the alien who I call Carl show up at my window. Okay, he was like big gray head alien, right there. Like, I'm looking at you, man. And boom, he was there, and I'm like, whoa. Like, a lot of people think we do this for ratings. No, I mean, these are true experiences that are freaking us out at the same time.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how, I don't know whether we're calling it in or because we're expecting it, and we're calling it in. I don't know what it is, man, but strange things can happen. I believe your story 100%, man. 100%.
Well, it is, Dave. But by just speaking about it, we give it credibility, and it loves to be mentioned, loves to be talked about. And I'm surprised we haven't had something happen tonight, because anytime you talk about the demonic or supernatural or stuff like that, especially something specific, when you give it attention, it's drawn to you. That's like the first time I go into a haunted house, somebody says, hey, when we do this happens. And I say, okay, well, let's do it. And they say, what? And I said, yeah, recreate what you were doing. If that was playing with the Ouija board, then get the Ouija board out. Let's do it. And most ghost hunters, I'm not a ghost hunter, I'm a ghost experiencer. Most ghost hunters would be like, no, don't say the devil's. You ever notice that in the TV shows and stuff? A lot of them will say, the devil told me its name, or the spirit, but don't say it because it'll open up a portal. Why are you here? Why did these people call you into their home? To prove something exists. What better time to do it is when you have a camera crew and the camera, people with you. Yeah, sound crew. I never understood that, man. That's why with Extreme Paranormal, they actually canceled us after the first season, and they said we were too extreme. They called us the Extreme Paranormal. It was called Playing with Fire, was the original pitch name. And the studio, A&E, changed it to Extreme Paranormal. And then the reason they canceled us, they said the ratings show it was too extreme. So, wow. Yeah, man. That's why I love, and I've done some TV stuff since then, but I'm not a TV monger. I don't need my face on prime time to be in the, it'd be nice. I'd love to make, I think what I want to do with my life, Dave, when I die, I want to leave my legacy onto my kids. I want them to know that Dad cared enough about a topic that he put his everything he had into it, to helping other people, to trying to find the truth. And they hate that word. They hate it, whether it's in the paranormal or UFOs or UAPs or whatever. They hate the word truth, because whoever has the truth has the power. And that's what we're fighting with, all of it. And you're right. It's all connected, guys. It's all connected. All of it. It all comes down to energy, frequency, and vibration. Tesla and Edison figured it out in the 1920s. It's everything connected. I've done hundreds of hours right here, not in a haunted house, right here in my studio, in my home, speaking to the dead or aliens or energy or whatever you want to call it, demons or angels. I don't know what they are. All I know is they speak in English and they give you direct responses. And sometimes those direct responses aren't nice.
That's very true.
That's it. So I can't claim that it's the boogeyman. I don't know, but I think it's us in a different dimension. I don't believe in linear time. I believe time is parallel. And I believe that's what we're running into. And that's why we're starting to talk about interdimensional beings and things of that nature. And we're going to figure out that everything's a lot more closely connected than what we thought.
I want to ask you, because, when we have paranormal people on, a lot of people just sit there and they're like, hey, man, what's your scariest story? Tell us your scariest story. I'm going to throw a polar opposite at you here. Complete 180.
All right.
What's the funniest experience you've had with a ghost or something weird, strange?
The funniest? Oh, man, you do run into some pranksters sometimes because it's just us, right? Well, we hope it's just us. But, oh, man, I'd have to think about that. Let's see here. Well, one time I was doing a ghost box session. I had been working on it for days. I would just going after it, asking question, and not the same stuff. Like, are you a man? Or are you a woman? I would research the answers and try to figure out things. That way skeptics can't shred you. If you go at them with hard evidence and direct responses, you can't be shredded. They always go after the weak ones, So I was talking, it was like the third day, and I was doing like 8 hours a day of these ghost box sessions, just me up here in front of this camera with this microphone, talking to the air, waiting on a response. And I heard a man's voice go, "Shaun, thank you." And then a woman goes, "How many questions?" I thought that was funny. I said, "Well, I do have questions." And she never responded after that. But I always play that when I go do a convention or something, because she did. She goes, "How many questions?" So, it's funny with the spirit boxes, you could see, and that's why I think it's the spirits. It's everything. You can come into contact with some very real bad stuff. But a lot of times it's just us. It's mom, it's dad, it's grandma, it's grandpa, and it's also demons and things. It's an open line to everything. So you got to be careful. But just like that right there, how many questions? I've contacted them where they've been totally lost. Where are we? Who are we? And I've contacted them where I've had a conversation about science, how they believe in science. A lady, spirit of a lady, was telling me that she believes in what science says, because I asked her the question about, did she agree with Albert Einstein about we're all energy? And she says, I agree with what science says. Clear as day. Let's see another one. Another funny thing that happened. I was with my buddy, and we were at the Octagon Hall in Franklin, Kentucky, one of the most haunted places in America, by the way, octagonhall.org. And it's a Civil War era home. It's supposed to be haunted by a little girl and some Civil War soldiers. And you hear all kinds of stuff at night, especially at night. You hear the clock, tick tock, tick tock. And then you start hearing the men upstairs grumbling. And then you'll hear the little girl laugh upstairs or downstairs. And I mean, it's real. It happens. But my buddy decided to stop by one night, and he had been out drinking. So I said, yeah, man, come on in and crash. I was there by myself. So, I don't mind some company. And he came in and he's like, so is there any ghost tonight? Is anything? It was the Caldwell family that owned the place. He goes, Mr. and Mrs. Caldwell, do you mind if I stay the night? I've been drinking, or something like that. And he was standing on the third step, and something kicked him in the arse right in front of me, kicked him right in the butt. And he buckled at the knees and fell flat on his face, man, on the hardwood in that 1800s home. He got up. I felt bad. His nose was bleeding and everything. I said, hey, man, you can't do that. You can't come in just talking crap to these things. I told you this place was haunted. He was a believer after that, Dave. He was a believer. He said, dude, I felt the foot. He said, maybe it was a hand, So, yeah, I've done some of that stuff. And, I used to do private home investigations. And the older I've gotten, I kind of backed off of that, too, because I don't know, time, work, and I'm busy with the show. And man, it's dangerous out there, right? You go to some people's house, and some people do have mental illness issues, and they also have guns and stuff. And you go into people's homes, you don't know what you're dealing with all the time. I'll still do one every once in a while, but I went to a lady's house one time, and her husband, I had just started doing the ghost hunting stuff. I was never one for being in a group, but I joined this group because, like I said, I wanted to see other people that did this stuff like me. And this was 20 some years ago, and they had this little sheet you had to fill out. So I went and I was talking to the lady, and I was asking the questions, mental health in the family. Does it run in? Are you on any current medications? No, all this stuff. And I remember sitting there and I'm thinking, oh God, nothing's going to happen. And I'm writing down, and I heard a vibration on the table, and I just look up at her because she was drinking coffee. And I looked at the vase in the middle of the table, and I thought I seen it move, but it was so subtle. I just looked down, and I'm taking my notes still. And I swear to you, Dave, it went right past my head and crashed to the wall. As soon as I asked her, could you explain to me, ma'am? And I'm looking at the notepad. Could you explain to me exactly what kind of phenomena has been happening around your house? Boom! Right over my left shoulder. And I look up, and I think I peed myself. And I looked up, and I looked at her, and she said, that. We both laughed our butts off, man, because perfect timing. Kudos to that ghost, whoever it was. It was. I didn't get that case, but somebody else worked it. But that was a good one, man. That was a good one.
I can see where that was a good one.
Yeah.
We got about 40 seconds. I'll quickly fit this in here.
Yeah.
One time we were playing with a spirit board, and my buddy turns his head in his kitchen, and all of a sudden his wood stove is on fire. Like the fire is going in the wood stove.
Yeah.
He's going, who started the fire? Because the fireplace hadn't been on since like 9 o'clock that morning. And it's like 10:30 at night right now. So
Right.
13 hours. So all of a sudden the spirit board starts taking our hands, and the lady of the house says, did you start the fire? It goes, yes. We ask why. The ghost comes back on there and spells out, I was cold.
He's honest.
On that note, Shaun Burris, we have you for another 30 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio. Good to have you here. My name is Dave Scott. Having a great time talking paranormal stories and everything about the weird and strange field that we live in. His show, Shadow Nation podcast on YouTube. We'll be right back with more Spaced Out Radio right after this. Rock and roll, man. Rock and roll.
Rock and roll.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man.
I investigated one house here.
Yeah.
So this lady calls me up. She had taken in. I do a ghost tour at the museum, at our local museum, to help raise money for it because it's a nonprofit museum. And this past year, actually, we raised $10,000 for the museum.
Okay.
So
wow.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. But this is going back probably 5-6 years ago. This lady is having like weird, like nasty stuff happening at her house. And thankfully I forget her name because I wouldn't want to mention it. So she's like, can you come help me? And I said, okay. So she's like, we can't go in the house because my husband, he works nights and he's sleeping before work and blah, blah, blah. And he really doesn't buy into this. Okay, well, whatever. Well, where does a lot of the stuff happen? She goes, down in the garage. So in our area, when somebody says they have a garage, it's like a mini barn. Okay, because we're in the wilderness, so people store their boats and their ATVs and their other vehicles all in one room. We walk in there, man, not realizing the guy is part of a very famous motorcycle club.
Oh, no. Hell's Angels.
And everything on the one wall of this barn is all relics from World War II, Nazi Germany. Okay, including a flag that has bullet holes in it.
It's like a Scooby-Doo episode gone wrong.
Oh, dude, I literally said to her, I said, this is way beyond my pay scale. Like, I don't even know where to start because all of this energy, negative energy that's around your house is surrounded by these two things.
Yeah.
And I don't think, knowing who your husband's friends are, I don't think it's a good idea. For my safety, my team's safety, and more importantly, your safety.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And it was creepy, man. Couldn't wait to get the hell out of there. Like, like we did the yard. We were picking up stuff in the yard. Okay, so we worked around the yard where she said she had seen ghosts and everything, but that barn,
staying out of there.
Got the hell out of there, man.
Yeah.
Hey, Scrub-a-Dub-Dub, how you doing? Good to see you, man. Dark starry sky, my unnamed neighbor from somewhere around here. All I know is that dark starry sky lives in my town.
In my town.
Sarah Yan, how you doing? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was out of town a little bit. I'm not going to give the location or where, but holy cow, that was freaky.
I had a guy call me one time for probably 6 weeks trying to arrange a home investigation. Said his wife was having her clothes torn off and being molested by these entities and all this stuff. And here I'm thinking, man, I need to help this family, right? And I kept asking him, is she in medical treatment? Is she on medication? Oh, no. So okay. So I start dealing with him and I get about a week out. I'm about ready to go, bring the gear out and go to his house. And I call him and I said, sir, would you like to set up a date? We could come out and see what's going on. And he said, oh no, they changed her medications. It's fine. She doesn't see it anymore. I said, he wasted 6 weeks of my life. I mean, these people were calling me at work saying it happened again.
Oh God. My buddy Merle, who comes on here for a show we call Ghosts of the Great White North.
Yeah.
He got this call from these people an hour out of town. can you come over? My house is haunted, got dark shadows running all over the place, blah, 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 blah. He's like, yeah, not a problem. I'll be there, right? We're coming on this Friday night or Saturday night. They show up, house full of people. The owners of the house told all their friends to come over for a ghost hunting party where they were going to watch Merle's team conduct a paranormal investigation in their house.
Yeah.
And it didn't end up going that well for the people because Merle pulled out of doing it, but he said it was one of the most uncomfortable things he's ever seen. All right. Quick thank you to Jennifer ×2, Monica, Deb, Faze, Will, and Louie for the super chats. Here comes the next half hour, everybody. It's the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. How y'all doing out there in the Woo Land? My name is Dave Scott. Always appreciate you tuning us on in. Reminder to all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, you can always check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Now, I got to respond to the Doug Shelby in the chat room here on our YouTube chat room. He keeps mentioning, trying to bug me, that Nathan McKinnon of the Colorado Avalanche is a better hockey player, or the best hockey player in the NHL. He's good. He's damn good. But he's no Connor McDavid. Let's just get this over with right now. Connor McDavid is the best player in the NHL. Bar none. Bar none, the Doug Shelby. I'm taking this to publicity now because I get the final say. I'm the guy with the microphone. So I'm just saying it loud and clear. Yes, Nathan McKinnon has a Stanley Cup. Okay. David doesn't, but this is our year. This is our year for the Oilers. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. How you doing there, Shaun Burris?
We're doing good. We're doing good, Dave. I was just listening to you Canucks go on and on about hockey. My Canadian cousins.
Yeah. Oh, just the Doug Shelby. He thinks he's Ohio State University, the Ohio State.
Oh, God, yeah.
He's like, I'm the Doug Shelby.
Ohio. And you got Notre Dame. See, here in Indiana is where I live. So Notre Dame is the Fighting Irish, right? The Golden Helmets, the Golden Blue. But even they, when they're doing their thing, don't go the Ohio State University.
Yeah.
Or
exactly.
the O or whatever. It's just, yeah. I think anymore. I heard one guy, I think, during a football game, he actually said something kindergarten or whatever. I think it's getting so bad they're recruiting him out of kindergarten these days. I don't know. I'm serious. Like, it wasn't kindergarten, but I think it was like a middle school or at least a high school. I don't think the guy went to college. I don't think you have to go to college anymore to play in the pros.
You know what my favorite part of Indiana is?
Corn.
Axl Rose.
Axl Rose. Okay.
And DJ Ashba.
DJ Ashba.
Yep, former Guns N' Roses lead guitarist, 6 a.m. lead guitarist, DJ Ashba, both from Indiana.
Hoosiers, baby. Hoosiers.
You got that right.
I'm right outside of Circle City. They call it the Circle City because it is. It's in one big circle, Indianapolis. It starts at Monument Circle, and then it just goes out, and it looks like an alien launch pad, towards the center. So
nice.
But we're usually known for John Dillinger, legendary bank robber, and stuff like that. So, and the Indy 500.
I only know you for the Indy 500, the Colts, the Pacers, and Axl Rose.
Yeah, Pacers aren't doing too bad this year, man.
I stopped watching basketball when the Vancouver Grizzlies got screwed over by the NBA and had to move to Memphis.
What do you think? And I know this isn't paranormal, but speaking of the Illuminati, What do you think about what they're saying right now, which is all white noise, I'm sure. But we know the Illuminati, something like that exists at least, that they want Kansas City to win because Taylor Swift and the Kelsey thing is going to go on the campaign trail for a certain person. And I know we don't talk about politics, but what do you think about playing like last week? Detroit Lions got beat. Some people in the Ravens game, some people really are saying, man, this is fixed. This is, I don't know.
I don't buy it. I think there's no, in my opinion, outside of the NBA, where they have really bad, how can you call it? They have a really bad players contract with the association. Okay, that literally allows like 6 teams to win.
Yeah,
the Lakers and Golden State, and you have 3 in the West and 3 in the East that are going to be there every time. And I don't see it with football. I don't see it with hockey. I don't see it with baseball. But I don't buy it. I really don't.
I don't want to. I don't want to buy it.
Yeah. I think there's a point where conspiracy could go way too far. And I think because people don't trust the mainstream media anymore, and as a former member of the mainstream media, I could say that my friends who are still in the business did it to themselves, and the media has done it to themselves.
Sure.
I will say this. I think at times we go too far in thinking there's a conspiracy. And I'm not saying everything's truthful these days. And with AI, it's going to get a lot worse. Like what we saw in movies like Terminator, The Running Man. If you remember, The Running Man was basically about AI footage being edited to make people criminals.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And justifying certain actions in a bad society. It's weird how a lot of these Arnold Schwarzenegger movies are turning prophetic.
Right.
But I will say this. When it comes to sports, I think there's a natural beauty, and there are teams that are just damn good.
Yeah. Well, I think there is too. I mean, I hope so, because one QB making $80 million a year, God, I hope he's really good.
Well, I mean, when you have a $189 million salary cap and one player is making 80, there's a lot of players there making below $1 million.
Yeah.
Or below $2 million in order to make that salary cap now work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
well, look up the Baltimore Ravens quarterback, because that's what he signed.
Yes.
He's a good quarterback, though. I'll give it to him. $80 million a year. I don't know. I think firefighters should be getting paid that, not football players.
Remember when the public went? This will be my last sports comment. Remember when the public went nuts way back in the 90s when Ricky Henderson in baseball held out for $3 million a year?
Oh yeah.
And now we're talking $80 million a year contracts.
Yeah.
Okay, $80 million a year. I mean, $80 million a year is 97% of the NHL's salary cap per team.
Was it $80 million a year or $80 million every 3 years?
$80 million a year.
Yeah.
He's doubling Patrick Mahomes.
Right. Yeah.
You
That's
know?
Unbelievable. How do we get there? When does podcast or a radio show host become $80 million a year players? That's what I want to know.
Well, you got Joe Rogan's the only one right now.
No, we got to call Joey, man.
Hey, Joe, how about slicing off like $40?
Well, we just got to start smoking weed on the show, man, and just lay back barefoot. That's the key, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's crazy. The whole world's gone crazy. I don't know what you guys are seeing in Canada, but here in the United States, of course, you see the news cycles. You know what's going on. But it's crazier than it's ever been out there, man. But I'm telling you,
keep your head low. Got to keep your head low and not pay attention. And that's what I think, man. But hey, let me focus on this for a minute. You're somebody who's getting into the UFO thing. You're getting into cryptids. Out of all the things you've experienced, Shaun, what's the dream? What do you want to see? What do you want to experience? Give me your top 3 bucket list that you want to experience.
I would like to be, I'll give you my goals and mix it in with experience. How about that? I would like to be part of a group that tears the lid off the UAP thing with our government. Whoever's government. Doesn't even have to be the United States. Could be Canadian government, whatever. I would like to be part of a group, or the person who interviews the person or gets the right information, or they slip up on my show, or I do some digging and I'm just a little small part of bringing that truth forward. One thing, just one thing that can put my name with and say, Shaun Burris found this out. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then with spirit communication, I want to be the first one, or at least one of the pioneers, to be able to prove that what the things are responding, those entities that are responding, direct responses to questions, are in fact spirits, energy, spirits. You know, I've had people come at me say, no, that's a ham radio. Explain that one to me. I'm speaking to the air. I'm not talking to a microphone. So how does a ham operator in Canada hear what I'm saying if I'm in my room going, is there anybody here that'd like to talk to me? You see what I'm saying? So you get all these different things. So I've been documenting. I've been reading this book by Tesla that they put out about manifesting things. I wasn't really a spiritual person, but the older I get, I'm not a, nothing against hippies or nothing, but you can't go all one way and you can't go all the other way. You have to be right down the middle. You have to be centered. And it's going to take a little bit of both. I'm reading that, God, what is it? 368, the Tesla code or whatever. I have the book downstairs. It's basically what you do is you manifest. And Tesla, it tells you all the way through the book how to do this. But bottom line is you write down what you want to do. I want to be the greatest podcaster in the world and make a job out of it, a living. Just make a living out of it. Write that down 3 times in the morning. Then in the evening, you write that down 6 times. Then at night before bed, you write that down 8 times. 368. I think that's what it is. It's either 368 or 369. You get the thing. And you read it out loud at the end of the night. You read the 3, you read the 6, you read the 9. And that is supposed to be like a cosmic, you see what it is. It's basically, if you could see it, you could believe it, putting it out there in the universe. So I got the book. I was reading it, because that's how we educate ourselves. And I was looking at it. And I see that a lot of things, the spirits or aliens or whatever, that say when I ask them, and by the way, you guys can go to my TikTok page for all my spirit box sessions. Decide for yourself. Can I put that out there, Dave?
Yeah, please do. It's
Shadow Nation Podcast 1. Shadow Nation Podcast 1 on TikTok. That's where because a lot of people's attention span's like 15 seconds now. So I got to do quick clips, right, of the show, of everything. I'll do a 2-hour show and I got to do a 15-second clip and I'll get 20,000 downloads on it. And then you'll get 500 on the show. It's weird. People want to see that real fast. But the ghost clips and stuff, guys, you can get them on TikTok. You can get a lot of my stuff on YouTube, which is also Shadow Nation Podcast, and the website shadownation.com. Anyway, thanks, Dave. But I really want to play some of that spirit stuff for you guys tonight because I've researched the questions I ask these things. And I don't just ask them, are you a guy or are you a girl? I've asked them about quantum theory and their thoughts on, because these are educated beings. Whatever they are, they could be misleading. You got to be careful because, like I said, it could be a demonic, a negative, misleading you away from what you're trying to find. So you got to take from your gut feeling, really, because they tell you a lot of things. Most of what I've ran into has been light and fluffy, and one said bro, we need help. And I said, bro, what's going on? I'm taking notes. And it said, Christ never find. So that was kind of an emotional one to me, because he was asking me for help. And he said, Christ never find. So every once in a while, you'll get an emotional one. You'll get one that says, who am I? Where am I? But then you get some that are rock and roll, that are joking and playing around. And so, but I try to read as much as I can, because I think a lot of this is going to come down to quantum theories and energies and like I said again, vibrations and energy and all that. That's what it is. That's the answer to all this, all of it. Atoms, protons, neutrons. It's what we are. So I got off topic. What were we going? The three things the most I wanted to do?
3 things.
And I gave you 2, right?
We need one more.
I would love to be able to make just enough to live and be able to bring truth radio to the people, to investigate, to go out and be part of a team that takes the lid off of something big, ghost, aliens, whatever, something that's being hid from the people, because nobody has a right to keep hidden from anybody the truth. I can't stand it. It's an injustice. And then I would really love to get a full-on video of a full-bodied, I have a half body on video, but I need a full-bodied apparition on film. I would love to get that to a point that I could prove it. Not through thermal goggles, not through all the temperatures. I want to see it full on, walking down the stairs. I'd love to be able to put that out there. I've never been able to get that yet, Dave. Not yet. I've seen it. I've seen the balls of light floating down the stairs, then zipping across the staircase and down. Never captured it on camera yet, though. Never have. So that's it. I would like to be able to prove exactly all the hours I put into the ghost box. I'd like to prove that those are spirits speaking from a different dimension, that life after death it's parallel. That's what that is. It's we see things in 3D. Everything else is in 4K and more, or 4D and more. You know what I'm saying? There's different dimensions, infinite dimensions. And I think that's when I contact these spirits, that's where they're coming from. There's some lost dimensions that some could call that hell. There's some happy dimensions. Some could call that heaven. There's some dimensions that cross with our dimensions that somehow they're not ignorant. When you die, you don't lose your intelligence. These beings that I speak to are highly intelligent. So I encourage you guys to go to the TikTok page and check that out. But that's what I'd like to do. I'd like to prove that these are intelligent. I think I have, in a way, already proved that by the responses, the hours of direct responses I've had to my questions. But I'd like to prove that, and I would like to get documented evidence, video, a full-bodied apparition, and maybe get on top of get inside a UAP one time, huh? Not a man-made, a real UAP, a real UFO.
That's a UFO.
Yeah,
that's a UFO. I have defined UAP as man-made objects, and UFO as still UFO.
Isn't that funny how we do that? All of a sudden, UFO has a stigma about it, so let's change it to UAP to take it. Are we that childish? Seriously?
We are.
Oh, my God.
But you know what, though? That's how they govern the narrative.
That's it.
It's like anything. Any type of government acronym, the minute we start using that acronym, we start buying into the process.
That's
when
it.
We use it. And UAP is where it started. But if I were to choose, as we got about 5 minutes here, if I were to choose my top 3, it would be, because I've witnessed a UFO landing. I've seen 2 UFOs now on the ground. And I'm still waiting. Number 1, it would be having the craft land on my backyard and say, Dave, it's time to go for a ride. I want to fly it. I want to fly it. I hear so many people and talk to so many people who have done research on people flying the craft. I want to fly it. See where we can.
You got to fly them telepathically. That's what they.
Yeah, I believe these craft are biological.
Mm-hmm.
They have a biological component to them.
Sure.
Number 2, I want a real close encounter with Sasquatch. Like I'm talking within 15, 20 feet. I want to shake its hand. Okay. That's how close I want to be. I want to shake its hand. And my third one, oh geez, that would be a tough one. I don't know. I don't know what the third one would be. I think it would be facing my fear and having a telepathic face-to-face conversation with an extraterrestrial.
That would be amazing.
Because I'm an experiencer. I've been taken. And I know when they are around, like they were last week. I know that I still fear looking over my shoulder when I know I've just got back, and I fear looking over my shoulder and seeing them. Mm-hmm. It scares me.
So have you been marked at birth? Because most abductions happen on life.
No idea. The first one I know of happened in 2014. So those would be my big 3.
Yeah.
My big 3. And if I could put an asterisk beside something, I want George Knapp's beard in my office. That's what I want. I want George Knapp's beard in my office. And
seems like George Knapp's and Jeremy Corbell got the corner on the market when it comes to UFOs these days, huh?
Yeah, that's true. You know what's funny is I actually had thank you to Algore on Twitch for reminding me of this. I had a regression therapy with Geraldine Orozco back in San Francisco a couple years ago, and I was playing the regression for my audience, and apparently I don't know. I'm still skeptical about it, but during my therapy, I said that I have been on UFOs with Katy Perry, my crush. Katy Perry, my crush. And but she has admitted that she is a contactee.
There you go.
And she sings about it. So I don't know if that's just wishful thinking in my subconscious or if it actually happened. Okay. Because I don't see Katie hitting me up to say, hey, I listened to your show or follow me on X or anything like that.
You need to reach out to her. Let's go to IMDb. We'll call her agent right now, her publicist.
Yeah.
Say, listen, we got a story for you, girl. She might buy it. She might say, because that's a unique experience to have. I've never had that I'm aware of. But I had Dr. David Jacobs come on and tell me if I have been abducted, chances are I wouldn't know. And that there's so many alien human hybrids that walk among us right now. The blood, the DNA is so muddied. We're already in the process of being fully taken over.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. David Jacobs, Temple University.
We got about a minute left here.
60 seconds, baby. Do
me a favor.
Yes, sir.
Tell everybody where they can find your podcast, your website, your YouTube channel.
Guys, every Sunday night, Shaun Burris, Shaun the Ghostman Burris, I'll be hosting the Shadow Nation podcast at shadownation.com. You can check me out at Facebook page, same names, guys, Shadow Nation Podcast. Just look it up. You'll find it on Facebook, Instagram, Shadow Nat Podcast, Shadow Nat Podcast on Instagram, and the rest is all just Shadow Nation Podcast. And it'll pop up. So please go to subscribe on YouTube. I've done this 15 years. It doesn't cost to join. I'm not asking for a dime. I'm just trying to bring the truth to my listeners, guys, just like Dave. So, Dave, thank you so much, man, for having me on tonight. God bless you. God bless your listeners. And may the force be with us, right?
Hey, man, thank you so much for being a great guest on Spaced Out Radio. Shaun Burris, everybody, from Shadow Nation podcast. Coming up next, Steve Stockton from Among the Missing. Then Courtney Marcassani, toothpicks in her eyes on the East Coast. She's here for the UFO report. Coming up next on Spaced Out Radio. That was beautiful, man. Beautiful.
That was good, Dave. I hope I kept everybody interested.
Yeah, man. Do you have fun?
Oh, I had a blast, brother. I'll come back anytime. Just let me know. And you can come on my show anytime you got free time. Just call me up and say, hey, you want to do something this weekend?
Yeah, let me know, man. Just let me know.
I'd love to have you come on and talk about your abductee experience, your experiences.
Yeah, man.
So
yeah, let's do that. Let's talk soon because we were gonna hit each other up for some ideas.
Yeah, you got my number and I got yours now. So
Yeah.
text or call me anytime. And
We'll
you got
do
all
it.
my info.
All right, you take care. Okay,
All right, brother. Thanks again.
take care.
Bye, man.
Good night. All right, there's Shaun Burris, everybody. How awesome was that one? That was a good one. That was a good one. Here, let's put Dirty Filth up. Little romance for you. Meowing.
That was Blob. Sorry.
Good old
Can't
Blob.
help it. Hi, Blobby. Oh, look at Dave. Just ran away. Unbelievable. Blob's just clawing the hell out of the chair here. Sorry about that. Move it down a little bit so you can see it better. Figure out I'm going to do a whole bunch of Valentine's Day things this year. Gonna make some little cards and hand them out to people. Hello, Blob. Hello, big Blobby. Figure it out. Oh yeah, I guess there really wasn't any Q&A on that one. But yeah, we'll have to bring him back, I guess. Yes, Blob. I'm being summoned to go sit on the couch and write RPG notes with the Blob. That's usually what I do after the show. But I found out that I have YouTube on my TV, so I can put the radio show on the TV and sit there, and then Blob piles in there, and I just write notes and junk and scribble cartoons. Anyways, I'm rambling. Science Blob. Oh yeah, I have a little sketch of that right here. I can't see it because of the light. Excuse me. Science Blob. It's a unremarkable drawing. But I did one for Bigfoot. I think I'm going to try to do something for Mothman for the next one. I don't really know what. Blob, there's no snacks. You get nothing. Yeah. Don't worry. The cats are well fed. Yeah. Well, cats pile on me. Last night I fell asleep on the couch and I had Gremlin and the Gargoyle and Blob piled on me. Come on, Blob. There's the Blob piled on me and a cartoon all in one. Anyways, it was terrible. I woke up at like 6:30. I had to be at work for 7:30 and crushed by cats. Terrible way to go. That's how it's going to happen, though. But oh, my Blob. Yeah, Blob's not so much. What are the Roman numerals for? The Roman numerals are the date that I put this background on here. It's September 28th, 2023, if you're curious. I like to use Roman numerals because people don't know what the numbers are, and too bad for them. They should figure it out. and it just looks good. But yeah, it's aesthetically pleasing. Usually, I number all my stuff with. Hello, Dave.
Hi, Major Lee. How you doing? Juliana, thanks for coming on in. And all of our audience sticking around for Courtney Marcassani and the UFO report. Blobbert, looking good?
Oh, yeah. It's time to go sit on the couch, Dave, and watch the show from there and write notes and scribble cartoons with the Blob.
The Blob is awesome. We love the Blob around here.
Oh, she's a good girl.
Blue Cruz wants to know, Dirty, before you go, does Blob ever take on an amorphous form spilling out all over the place?
Yeah, she's basically 99% liquid.
Yeah. She loves her fame. She loves her fame. Nice
She's
hands.
popular.
Nice hands.
Bob Birkins loves those hands.
Yes.
Showed off camera his chest hair that you can't see. Okay, Dave, have a good night.
Amorous chest hair, an amorous amount of chest hair. All right, Phil. Talk to you soon. All right, that's Dirty Phil. Thank you tonight to Jennifer, Louie, Jennifer again, Monica, Deb, and FaZe Will for the super chats. Very much appreciate the love and support. Don't forget, Hi Lost Souls, how you doing? Don't forget that you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. None. So stick around. Here we go with hour number 3, everybody.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us, will you, at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Cabasset. Cabasset is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go. Steve Stockton from Among the Missing kicks off the third hour.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Among the Missing YouTube channel on Spaced Out Radio. I'm Steve Stockton, and I'm about to take you on an unbelievable journey of people just like you. Their stories and encounters will haunt us on Among the Missing. Mammoth Cave National Park, nestled in the picturesque hills of Kentucky, is renowned for its vast and intricate underground labyrinth, holding secrets and mysteries that captivate the imagination. Among the many legends surrounding this natural wonder, one stands out, the legend of the Phantom Lantern. The cave takes on an eerie and mysterious aura as the sun sets over the dense forest and limestone hills, casting long shadows across the landscape. On certain moonlit nights, a phantom lantern can be seen flickering deep within the caverns, beckoning those brave enough to venture into the heart of Mammoth Cave. The legend begins centuries ago, long before the park became a national treasure. According to local lore, a miner named Ezekiel Baxter was among the first to explore the depths of Mammoth Cave in the early 19th century. Armed with little more than a lantern and a sense of adventure, Baxter descended into the darkness, discovering passages and chambers never seen by human eyes before. As he delved deeper into the labyrinth, Baxter stumbled upon a hidden chamber bathed in an otherworldly glow. In the center of the chamber, he allegedly found an ancient lantern, its flame burning with a spectral light. Mesmerized by the unearthly radiance, Baxter reached out to touch the lantern, and in that moment, he became the keeper of the phantom lantern. From that day forward, Baxter was said to possess an otherworldly connection to Mammoth Cave. The lantern allowed him to navigate the twisting tunnels with uncanny precision, and he became a legendary guide for those daring enough to follow him into the underground world. His reputation as the keeper of the Phantom Lantern spread far and wide, drawing explorers and thrill seekers from distant lands. However, the lantern's power came at a cost. Consumed by an insatiable curiosity, Baxter spent more and more time in the cave's depths, his once human form gradually becoming ethereal and translucent. Some claim to have seen him vanish into the walls of Mammoth Cave, becoming one with the very rock and stone he had once explored. The legend of the Phantom Lantern has persisted through the generations, and to this day, visitors to Mammoth Cave National Park speak in hushed tones about the mysterious light that dances in the darkness. Some claim to have glimpsed the spectral figure of Ezekiel Baxter, still guiding those who dare to venture into the subterranean realm. Whether the legend of the Phantom Lantern is a cautionary tale or an invitation to explore the unknown, it remains an integral part of the rich tapestry of Mammoth Cave National Park. The caverns continue to whisper their secrets to those who listen, and the flickering light of the Phantom Lantern serves as a timeless reminder of the enigmatic wonders beneath the surface. Next, the Crying Ghost of Acadia National Park, Maine. In the heart of Acadia National Park, nestled among the rugged landscapes and towering pine trees, lives a tale as old as time itself, the legend of the Crying Ghost. This spectral figure is said to haunt the park, its mournful cries echoing through the mist-laden valleys and rocky cliffs that define this enchanting corner of Maine. The story begins many decades ago in a small village that once thrived near the park's borders. The village, now long forgotten and reclaimed by nature, was home to a young woman named Isabella. Isabella was renowned for her ethereal beauty and a voice that could rival the songbirds that frequented the park. Isabella fell deeply in love with a local fisherman named Samuel. Their love was the talk of the village, and soon they were planning a life together. However, fate had other plans. Samuel, drawn by the promise of prosperity in distant waters, set sail on a fateful voyage, leaving Isabella behind with a heavy heart. Days turned to weeks and weeks to months, but Samuel's boat never returned. Isabella clung to hope, scanning the horizon for any sign of his vessel. As the seasons changed, the village mourned the loss of its men at sea, but Isabella's grief set her apart. Her haunting melodies, once filled with joy, now echoed the pain of a heart shattered by loss. One stormy night, as the winds howled through the cliffs and waves crashed against the rocks, Isabella received news that would seal her tragic fate. Samuel's boat had been lost to the tempest, and he was presumed deceased. The shock and despair overwhelmed Isabella, and her grief manifested in a series of mournful wails that echoed through the village. Isabella's spirit, unable to find solace in the afterlife, is said to have lingered in Acadia National Park. The legend tells of a ghostly figure veiled in mist, wandering the trails and weeping by the shores. Hikers and visitors claim to have heard the haunting cries, a sorrowful melody transcending the boundaries of the living and the dead. Locals warn against venturing too deep into the park after sunset for fear of encountering the Crying Ghost. Some say that those who listen closely may catch a glimpse of Isabella's ethereal form, her translucent figure moving through the shadows with a mournful grace. Despite the eerie tales, Acadia National Park remains a place of unparalleled beauty, drawing nature enthusiasts and adventurers from far and wide. The legend of the Crying Ghost serves as a poignant reminder of the power of love and loss, etching its spectral presence into the very fabric of this majestic landscape, where the beauty of nature and the echoes of the past merge in a haunting harmony.
And thank you to Steve Stockton from Among the Missing for another great story. He'll be back again tomorrow night to kick off hour number 3. If you want more, head on over to youtube.com/Among the Missing and hit subscribe today. From the missing to the mysterious, and maybe a brawl between scientists, Courtney Marcassani is here with the UFO report.
Nobody's gonna know. They're gonna know.
Courtney Marcassani, it's good to have you back. How you been doing?
Hey, I'm doing well. It's late here on the East Coast. I gotta say, I'm starting to feel the time differential between Alaska and Pennsylvania. Time traveling.
I bet you can.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but you're in a lovely, beautiful state of Pennsylvania. Any aliens show up yet?
No, not yet. Not yet. That's the big debate, right? I mean, I'm just watching the updates on Twitter, or X, about all these people coming out, stepping forward saying there are no aliens. Why are all these smart people believing in aliens? They're not here. They've never been here. It's just, it's the tensions are rising. The tensions are rising between the UFO community and the non.
There is a lot of chatter behind the scenes right now of skeptics versus those who are believers and those who have experience. And, it's one of those things where I have been told that there is a real campaign going on right now to really push the discreditation, if that's a word. If not, I'm using it and I'm stealing it and I want credit for it. Okay. About people who are doing what we're doing right now, bringing these stories to the public.
Right.
And they're trying hard to discredit us. They're trying hard to discredit the people who are involved, whether it's David Grush or Chris Mellon seems to be a target recently over the last week again. And it just seems like it's going off the rails with the skeptics and the non-believers absolutely pushing forward an online attack on those who are pro UFO.
It's on. Yeah, it's on. The discrediting is on. I mean, it's clearly a new wave of old style debunking, and like the James Randi days, against any kind of paranormal experiment, when he would just come out and do these scathing diatribes about people in the community. Now, some of that was rightfully so, because there were hucksters and hoaxers and whatnot. But when it comes to what's going on and what's shaken out with the David Grush story and the other witnesses and Congress, they're really taking aim now, especially with this Scientific American article that Sean Kilpatrick wrote last week. It's really taken things to a new level and allowed that debate to go into a really toxic place.
Why do you think there is this real ugliness going on right now? Do you think it's more because the government wants a cover-up, that the government wants something that is this subject to go away? There's rumors that we touched on just a couple nights ago about Sean Kirkpatrick, the former head of Arrow, being a disinformation agent. Like, there's a lot of things being thrown around right now.
It is such a scandalous claim to say that he is a disinformation agent. But if you look at when he was doing some of these briefings to Congress, and you see how serious he is in those and the findings, and presenting the report, and taking everything very seriously at Arrow, to see that he's being called a disinformation agent now from those days last year when he was part of Arrow, it's scandalous. It's a scandalous claim. And if I would have seen this coming from the UFO community, I would have said, oh, well, because they didn't show what they really found, or they said everything was prosaic, and they're making it look more like Blue Book, okay. But it's actually a serious claim now. I mean, it's not just fooling around. They're saying that he really is going full scale disinformation. And so you're looking at this complete reversal of somebody who was highly creditable, hired for the job, the right man for the job. People were skeptical about him, but they wanted him to see what he was going to come up with through his job, and taking this seriously and the subject matter seriously for Arrow. So it's unbelievable to see where he's ended up now in the public eye and the UFO community.
Do we see it getting uglier as time moves on here?
Yes.
Because we do see the Pentagon trying to close the doors on this topic. We've seen them try to close the doors on whistleblowers like David Grush and future whistleblowers from coming out. You've talked to whistleblowers about this, and they are showing some major concern behind the scenes. Are we just at the eye of the storm right now before the winds pick up and it gets uglier?
Yeah. I definitely think the pressure is mounting. And I think that it was a great day for everybody in the UFO community when we saw that hearing. It was a precedent that was set, and there was this wave of disclosure, and then in through the fall and the winter to see the Disclosure Act get approved by the Senate and then go to the House and the Schumer-Rounds Amendment. Everybody was really excited to see all of this progress forward, and, basically like earth-shattering things happening for the UFO community. I mean, this has all come about because of us and our movement. And so I definitely feel that there's, it's hard to say who's behind all of it and who's behind Kirkpatrick's about face and saying, basically, for those who haven't read the Scientific American article, it's a real scathing article about how there's no truth to UFOs. There are a few interconnected believers within the government that have pushed this issue, and it's completely untrue and false, and their claims are false, that David Grush's claims are false, that there's no evidence, and that the witnesses that they have are just stories. They're just stories. There's no real firsthand witnesses, and that we know that's blatantly false. We know that David Grush had witnesses, firsthand and fact evidence, that he took to the Inspector General to report. And so it's at the highest level that this is happening now, and you have to wonder why.
Okay, I want to get to a comment here from one of our listeners who stated, I'm just trying to find it here, stated here momentarily that they go on a number, or this is from Mike. I hear Dave talk about conflict in the community. I don't see it, at least the ones I listen to. Are we the only ones really bringing this up? Or is this something that maybe other shows, podcasts are maybe a little oblivious to?
No, I don't think people are oblivious to this. I do think that some people might be listening to, voices or thought leaders that are in one kind of network or niche, and maybe not expanding out wider into different market segments with their media. But if you look at mainstream media that cover this issue, like CBS, The Hill, Scientific American, if you look at Matt Ford, I mean, he's more alternative media, but if you look at his expo that he did recently, through a number of sources, this has appeared as tensions mounting.
And what, for people who may not understand what we're talking about, what is this tension mounting in your opinion?
It's the conflicting stories between what has been reported for people who worked in programs that the U.S. government set up, the special access programs that have reverse engineered tech primarily, which is what David Grush testified to in July in Congress, that there were reverse engineered programs, that he knew where they were, according to witness statements. He had researched them. He had the highest level of clearance to investigate it at the UAP task force. He also testified to biologics that we had, also knowing where they were located. And so the conflict is in that there are high-level people like Shaun Kirkpatrick, who was hired, right, to manage Arrow and look into these things, saying that this is just a bald-faced lie. It's his word against David Grush's and other witnesses, right? We know that there were other. It's not just David Grush. We know that there was the Tic Tac video. We know that there was a sphere reported in 1960s, right, over a military base. We know that these are long-running sightings. It's not just the testimony of one man who was in the UAP task force. But I do believe that David Grush, a lot of this hinges on his testimony because he brought historical accounts, he brought witnesses together. He did a very deep dive on all of this, as he was tasked to do with the UAP task force, and he brought it to Congress. And so that's where the conflict is right now. That's where the pinpoint is of that tension. It's one pinpoint.
All right. We got about 4 minutes to go here before we have to go to break. At the bottom of the hour, Courtney Marcassani and the UFO report going on. There's a lot of wondering if there's going to be more meetings, more skiffs going on. Jeremy Corbell was recently on all over X once again, saying about whistleblowers being encouraged by David Grush, saying, my prediction for 2024 is what I know is going to happen. Most people are coming forward with firsthand direct knowledge of these government programs, reverse engineering UFOs. That's great, but who are these people talking to? We're not going to know the names. We're not going to know who they are unless they decide to come forward publicly. But behind the scenes, is this still an active conversation?
I think it's absolutely an ongoing conversation. We have David Grush's op-ed that's supposed to be coming out. It was delayed. We don't know why it was delayed. Is it delayed because of the DOPSR process? Is it delayed because of publication issues? We don't know why, but that's supposed to be coming out soon. It's absolutely an ongoing conversation, especially between the whistleblowers and either their media, mouthpieces, or their individuals who are leading the way and keeping them protected and sharing what they can. So we know it's an ongoing conversation. Absolutely.
How do we find out what is going on? Who's speaking? It seems like a lot of these people who are doing the speaking are the same people each and every time. We don't seem to have a lot of information coming out from other sources. It seems like the sources are being controlled.
Which sources? The people that are above the whistleblowers, or the whistleblowers, or the people in the government?
Either or, really, because if you look at it, it seems like it's the same people each and every time who are breaking the stories that are out there. Whether it's Ross Coulthart, whether it's Jeremy Corbell, it doesn't seem to be very many other people these days. Whereas, say, a year ago, there were a lot of people breaking news, us included.
I think that there are definitely people that have been elevated through their reporting, like Ross Coulthart. He has, taken that on and wrote a book, and then he worked his way into the story through multiple access points of insiders. You could call them insiders, developing sources. And so he has, I'm sure, many sources that he's developed over the last year. I've seen that. I've kind of watched it and observed it from being in groups that he's in and watching him develop those. But he was mostly an independent and outside. He's from Australia. And so in the US, it's interesting because Jeremy Corbell, he was not somebody who was, in the mainstream media, and he's getting into the public eye now, including, being on Joe Rogan and other things. But those wouldn't be considered mainstream media either. Jeremy Corbell is not on, CBS or ABC or NBC. So is he a credible source? I think that's out. I think that's out for debate. And why is he getting information, and why is he getting, videos and things handed to him? Somebody's working as an inside source. And from what I understand, from what my sources have told me, it's from the UAP task force old forum that he's getting some of those videos, because they were posted in there. So there's a little tidbit for you that might give you some understanding about who's behind some of this. It might not necessarily be who we think.
That's a very interesting piece of information that you had right there, because I was actually going to ask you next, but we're going to go to break here. why do you think Jeremy Corbell, filmmaker, documentarian, is such a loathed figure in this field? But I'm going to ask you that when we return on Spaced Out Radio. Courtney Marcassani and the UFO Report continue right after this. We're also going to get into a public tiff between Dr. Gary Nolan of Stanford University and Neil deGrasse Tyson, America's favorite scientist. Coming up next on Spaced Out Radio. All right, we're clear.
Interesting guy who was on the show just before.
Yeah, he was good. He was good.
I was able to catch the last 15 minutes of him because I was on a little early, just
I saw that.
gearing up. And well, I don't know. I hadn't jumped into the studio, but I was, kind of watching because somehow I can see it on Facebook on my feed before I come in to the studio.
All right.
So how are you doing? How are you doing post-experience? Are you still feeling like you're decompressing and processing coming out of your experience?
I feel good.
You
I
feel
feel
good?
good.
That's good.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
I
I was going
rejoined
to call you today.
I rejoined my gym today. So
Yay.
Friday I'm going back to the gym. Going to start my working out and make sure I feel better. And I got to tell you something funny. My son comes up to me today and he goes, "Dad," I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "I really don't like how you look without a beard.
Oh.
You're never allowed to shave off your beard again."
Well, I have to say, you do look different, but that's not uncommon. We had a nephew in our family, and his dad cut off his beard, and he came out to see him, and he just freaked out because he didn't know who he was. He didn't recognize him without his beard. And so it's a really shocking experience sometimes for little people. I know your son's not that little, but yeah.
So I promised my son, I said, "Buddy," I said, I'll promise you, from now until forever now, just for you. I said, "Daddy will have a beard for you." How about that? He goes,
Oh, that's so sweet.
give you an example. I've never seen my father without a mustache ever. And my dad was a real grandma's boy. And when my great grandmother, I never met her. She died way before I was born. When she was passing away, she said to my dad, "Don't ever shave off your mustache because I like you with a mustache." And my dad has kept the mustache since.
Oh,
So now that I've kind of had that moment,
sweet.
now that I've kind of had that moment with my son, now it's like I got to do the same thing.
Well, I'll tell you something that you won't have to worry about. When I used to play softball back in the day, we had parents who would come and volunteer to work the field or work as, helping the team, and they always wore baseball caps. And so you always get the idea how somebody looks with a baseball cap on. And then one time one of the dads took his cap off and he was completely bald underneath, because he just had the hair on the side. And I was shocked. I had no idea, that he was bald under there. And I got in the car with my mom after, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know Mr. So-and-so was bald." And she's like, "Yeah, you never know with a baseball cap on, do you?" So you're not going to have to worry about that, Dave. You got a healthy head of hair.
Well, that I hope to continue. I think I'll be all right on the hair front.
Oh, yeah.
The rest of it, I don't know. Like I said, I just got to make sure that I keep my beard for my boy. He likes it, so that's all that matters.
Yeah.
He likes it.
That's cute.
Yeah, I'm good with that. You know?
Yep.
So when are you back home?
I don't know, probably a couple weeks. I did a lot today. I have been doing a lot. I just have to do all my mom's moving of her stuff. So it's going to take at least a week to get out of Pennsylvania. And then I have trips set up to visit people in New York and UFO people and other friends, friends that are outside the UFO community, just touching in. So probably take me 2 weeks to get back and to go to DC. I want to meet some people in DC and talk about this new statute that they're writing. See if I can find out more information about that.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. Big thank you tonight to Jennifer ×2, Deb, Faze Will, Monica, and Forrest Louie for the super chats. Very much appreciate you helping us out with the super chats. We love it. Great way to support what we do. Don't forget to shop at our store, spacedoutradio.com. No ugly swag there, people. Here we go. Here we go with the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight in the UFO Report with our good friend Courtney Marcassani. Welcome back. My name is Dave Scott. Always appreciate burning your listening ears. Reminder to all of you that if you've missed most of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Courtney Marcassani joins us again for the UFO Report. We're having a great time with Courtney tonight. Thank you for being here. I wanted to ask you, because Jeremy Corbell seems to be a real pariah in this field. You either love his work or you're highly critical. Some people have taken him as the messiah of UFOs. Others have taken him as a big joke with fake UFO videos. Why do you think that he is such a controversial figure in the UFO world?
I mean, I think some part of it is because of his personality. I think that he has, a very intense, personality for some people. So I think that can be off-putting. But I also think that he is in his stylistic delivery on his creative content. He's very definitive a lot of times. He really does land in one spot. And especially with, the Bob Lazar movie and he's really proving, claims. And so I think that's another reason sometimes is people feel like his claims or the grounds for his claims might not be as substantial as he portrays them to be. And so I think that might be where he's still at, with the contention around his work.
Do you think he's a little overzealous of the topic?
I think that it's hard for a lot of people not to be overzealous about the topic. So I think that most people in the UFO community have a relentless burning and a drive within them to work on this topic. And so I'm not going to say, he's overzealous. I think some part of this is probably what he feels is a personal mission. Now, does that get into zealotry? It can. And so I think that everybody's kind of walking on that hairy edge, working on these issues and not getting into being overzealous. And I think that he might be perceived as somebody who has, maybe not necessarily had the best vetted material, especially this latest thing with the jellyfish. That was really highly controversial and rightfully so. So I don't think that you can be in this game without being somewhat enthusiastic and obsessive to a degree. And it's something that I'm always myself constantly looking at with how deep are we going here and how consuming is it to our life. And I could tell you right now by watching Jeremy's content that this is consuming his life right now. And so is that being overzealous? I don't know. I don't know. It's hard to say. Everybody has their own line that they walk with this subject. So it will eat you up. And Grant Cameron is one of the people that I've relied on most. And this community will eat you. It eats its own. So it's a cautionary thing to be careful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Final question about Jeremy Corbell in regards to it. Do we look at something that, the information that he's doing, because everything he does rubs off on the reputation of George Knapp, the longtime reporter for KLAS TV in Las Vegas, who broke the Bob Lazar story back in 1989 and has really been at the forefront of this entire UFO story the last decade or more. I mean, where does this stand? Does this put George Knapp in a different light as Corbell being his prodigy?
I think that they have obviously determined between their relationship and him mentoring Jeremy from his early days until now. It's probably somewhat of a formula that George used in his own career, right? By having to go and deal with sources like Bob Lazar and confidentiality and how difficult it was, and him working out at Area 51 and keeping him safe while also reporting. I think he learned a lot through that experience as a reporter. I think you can see that. And then he had obviously elevated his sources into people like Bob Bigelow. So I think what he's trying to do is pass the baton down to Jeremy. But as we know, when this is an ancient thing, right? Mentorship, apprenticeship, you see this in many different career paths where you're being mentored into an actual profession. The only problem with that is the standards around the UFO and UAP world are just completely open. There's no right or wrong way to do things. So I think what we're going to see is slip ups, missed ups, and you might see George coming in course correcting every once in a while, trying to get him on track.
All right, let's move on here, because there was a very, very interesting debate on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, between Dr. Gary Nolan and Neil deGrasse Tyson. And Gary Nolan, who is a ufologist, he's a scientist, he's into immunology and cancer and many other types of diseases and everything at Stanford University. The guy is considered probably one of the more brilliant people in ufology. And there's a lot of people out there trying to break him down right now. But you know what? You don't get a job at a prestigious school like Stanford University if you're an idiot. Okay? If you're a moron, or if you're stupid, or you're a liar or a cheat or a thief. It doesn't happen. Okay? Because those professors and doctors there for their research get paid a lot of money. And the reason why Gary Nolan has taken a little bit of heat is because there was a video that surfaced of him going after one of the most popular scientists in American history, in Neil deGrasse Tyson. And basically, what Nolan stated was that he believed that Tyson should actually be stripped of his PhD because he hasn't carried any type of information or done any experimentation in years. And yet all he does, especially with the UFO community, is seem to criticize everything and really use his position of popularity as opinion, to flaunt his opinion of there's no such thing as UFOs. And Nolan has gone after him for it. What do you think about that? Did you get a chance to hear it?
I didn't get a chance to hear it, but I did watch Matt Ford interview Rob Heatherly about his investigative research into the groups, organizations, and individuals that did the editing on Wikipedia. And I watched them go through the back end of Wikipedia and show the visuals where you could see the edits being made. And then they also went through a list of skeptics that pride themselves off of being skeptics. And, there was a lot of them on there that we know very well, like, Tyson DeGrassi. And, one of the other ones that I thought was interesting on there was Richard Dawkins. And Richard Dawkins wrote The God Delusion. And, in that book, in The God Delusion, he goes to great lengths to debunk, right, the whole idea around not UFOs, but around God and what God is. And so it was interesting to see Neil Tyson DeGrassi on there, and Richard Dawkins, and James Randi, and these people that pride themselves off of, making their career off of being skeptics and debunkers. And so I think you see Gary Nolan, who is obviously so elevated in academia and also in cancer research, and his, very real day job, if you will, working on these topics and being the head of the head of the charge. And he's won awards. And I mean, he's just so impeccable in terms of his day job. I think that if he heard you say that he was a ufologist, he might counter that nowadays. At some point, he was definitely going down the ufologist road, but at Soul Symposium, he kind of stepped away from that and wanted to distance himself a little bit from it. So at one point, I think he could be, but I think he's trying to move away from that. Now, you see these two titans coming at each other, and I think that even though I haven't seen their attacks on one another, I have seen it in the past through videos and other things that Gary Nolan has done against Neil Tyson DeGrassi, asking him for evidence. And the one thing I always like about Gary Nolan is he says, you have to follow the data. You have to follow the science where it leads you, even if you don't understand it. And so that's where I think that they're at cross purposes, because Gary Nolan really is studying that science, and the other, he's not. So he's coming from a completely uneducated place. He says he's educated, but he's not really.
Well, and that's one of the things, and the video has since been taken down by James Fox, film director, who got the answer and had put it out there. So obviously it was ruffling a lot of feathers, and James decided, well, this is going to maybe bring some undue attention to Gary Nolan at this point. But basically, Nolan said that, paraphrasing, that Neil deGrasse Tyson should be ashamed of himself, and that no scientist should put opinion ahead of research.
Exactly.
And if you're not going to research the topic you're commenting on, like deGrasse Tyson looking into UFOs, which he's never done, but he has a very strong opinion of it, then that really makes you a fake scientist.
Well, and let's face it, he refuses to do it. He refuses to look at it. He's, casting aspersions on a whole group of individuals in the field of sciences, including Gary Nolan's work, which I have to tell you, being at the Soul Symposium and watching his presentation using atomic imagery to go into metamaterials and look at them was quite well done. It was done in a setting that was obviously, in academia. We're at Stanford University, where many other groundbreaking programs were established, especially by people like Jacques Vallée, who were in the room, and other programs like Hal Puthoff doing SRI. I mean, they were all there. And so, these are legitimate scientists that have worked on programs, and they have credibility. I mean, Jacques Vallée basically did ARPANET and did the internet and invented it for the military. So you can't say that these guys aren't scientists, because they're very real scientists, and they have a body of work, and they're not just making claims. And so I think that Neil deGrasse Tyson makes himself look very uneducated, like I said before, and just as a skeptic, somebody who's not even willing to go in and look at the data or the evidence. And so, yeah, that's not real science. That's just, basically poking fun at people and saying you're wrong, which, how is that an academic debate? How is that, elevating the conversation to new level, saying, well, I can stay open-minded and curious. And so that's one of the things that Avi Loeb said actually at the Soul Symposium is, why is it so hard for people to accept UFOs when having the curiosity of a child, we are open to everything. And as a scientist, you have to be open to everything. So I realize that personalities have probably gotten involved as well. And maybe it's, maybe he's coming after Nolan because he is a scientist and he just doesn't like what he's saying, which is very reductionist, if you think about it.
And insulting.
Very.
It's insulting listening to not only his fellow scientific colleagues. I mean, how do you tell somebody like Jacques Vallée, who has been looking into this subject for decades, like coming on 6-7 decades, that he doesn't know what he's talking about? How do you tell all the scientists at the Scientific Coalition of UAP Studies that they're full of it for looking into the UFO story? And this is exactly what he's doing. He's Neil deGrasse Tyson is literally, you know, how can I put it? He's defacing what science is all about. Science never stops. Science always keeps going. Just because we think we've found it all and discovered it all on this planet in 2024 doesn't mean that there isn't another revolution out there, and that's the ET revolution that could be coming.
Well, that's part of the big whole debate, that they feel like individuals in our community are just hoaxsters, or we're just imaginative individuals, making stuff up with our imaginations because we're just can't be trusted. I mean, that goes back to swamp gas. That goes back to Gerald Ford and Michigan and Project Blueback. And that's one of the Blue Book. And that's one of the things that people have said, that this is scary. This is scary that these skeptics are coming out and behaving this way, because it's looking a lot like the Project Blue Book days. And one of the really serious concerns that's been brought about through Rob Heatherly's work, and Gary Nolan has known about that work and was in conversation with them, trying to understand, where Neil Tyson deGrasse and these other skeptics have been involved in a lot of this debunking and editing of Wiki pages. Now, I know that he might not be, deGrasse might not be involved in that part of it, but in the list of skeptics, they're right up there with the individuals who were editing the pages for Wikipedia. So, it looks suspicious. It looks like it's coordinated to some degree, at least by a certain group of bad actors who have maybe even been paid to do it. Who knows by who, but lawyers are getting involved right now. So it's actually something that needs to be scrutinized and looked at closely, because it does seem to be coordinated, highly coordinated, which is just astonishing that you could maybe see people like, scientists in the community doing that. It would be, once again, it would be scandalous, just like with Sean Kilpatrick and his, the way he's putting out media, as the former Aero director, denying the science, denying the witnesses, denying firsthand accounts. It's scary.
Do you believe, though? I mean, the harsh critique of his comment, Gary Nolan's comment, was basically saying that Neil deGrasse Tyson should be stripped of his PhD.
I don't know. It depends on what the claims are surrounding. If he was involved with the Wikipedia scandal, then he should definitely be investigated as an academic and having a PhD. But I don't know what the claim was. I didn't see this unfold on Twitter, and so I don't know what is at the core of the story or the core of the claim, which you would receive, some type of academic, stripping of your title. I mean, that this comes down to ethics. And so if there's ethical standards that he crossed the line on, it would be illegal. It would be a legal case to see why and what was the justification and what would his defense be. So it's not an easy thing to comment on when you're not exactly sure what the core issue is between them. What did he do wrong besides just opinion? If it's just his opinion and it's just a debate and he's just, attacking Gary Nolan's work and it's his opinion, I don't think he could lose his PhD for that reason, because that's been going on forever. But there would have to be a real justifiable reason to lose your PhD.
All right, 3 minutes to go here before we have to say goodnight to you. What are you hearing on the streets? What's the juice of the day?
Well, I think that next time we definitely need to talk about the, and I don't know, I need to look into this and evaluate it and research it myself for the SOR community. But there was contradictory stories between apparently Gary Nolan and Diana Pasulka on the metamaterials that were actually studied, and that atomic imagery was used. So I'd like to see what the conflicting stories are. I think we also need to keep our eye on what's going on in Congress. Like I said, with the statute, that's something that I'm tracking. I also saw something I picked up just as I was scrolling through Twitter before I came on, something about some field trials that are going to be happening. So I wanted to look into that a little bit more and talk to people about the field stuff that they were mentioning earlier on Twitter that was somehow connected to David Grush. And I want to know more about it so I can report on that for the community, because that stood out to me. I thought, oh, this perks my interest. I haven't heard about that before. So I'll follow on that as well. And of course, the whistleblowers and the right timing for them to come out and be able to go to Congress. I'm really watching that too, having another skiff or seeing what's going on and when we can talk about that next phase of whistleblowers coming out.
I really like it. I think that we're going to see something. And, Diana Pasulka, who I believe has her degree in ancient religion texts or something along those lines.
She's a religious scholar. Yeah, she's a religious scholar, and she comes from the Catholic religion, and that's basically what she teaches on. But she has varied subject matters that she teaches on.
Yeah, and we've only had her on the show once, and that was about 3-4 years ago. She doesn't seem to do a lot of interviews anymore regarding this subject. But I mean, she is very opined with what has happened. She's had some incredible experiences with people who are way above her in the government community regarding this subject of UFOs. And it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, because Gary Nolan, once again, I think if there's anybody who could put money where their mouth is, it's Dr. Gary Nolan. Not that I've never interviewed the man. I've talked to him twice on the phone. We've exchanged some emails, but I mean, I think that, he really seems to be stirring it up a little bit right now.
I think Gary Nolan does stir it up. I mean, I think that's part of what he does. I mean, when he went to the SALT conference and said that he was, like 99% sure that NHI was here and already, it was a bold claim. So he's out there on the edge making the bold claims, but you know what? I honestly don't think that he would be out there saying that and risking his reputation to do it. So he must have solid evidence to back that up. So that's the one thing for the rest of us that we can kind of rely on, that he'll throw something like that out there for the field to keep the rest of us encouraged, like don't lose hope. And I appreciate that about him, that he gives us those little promptings, and he'll say something pretty bold and pretty courageous. So it's always good to watch how he's moving and what he's saying. With Diana Pasulka, she came out with this most recent book, Encounters, and I think she usually takes a step back from doing media stuff after she's done her press junket or whatever. But now would be the time to ask her, Dave.
That's right. Courtney Marcassani of the UFO Report. Thank you very much. So we got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter, hashtag Spaced Out Radio. I know you're out there somewhere. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us. Because together, my friends, we're watching. We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we got room for them too. Good night. There we go. Oh my gosh, I was holding in a cough that last minute and a half.
Oh, painful. Pain.
Mm-hmm. That's okay. That's okay. That was good stuff there.
Thank you. I'm glad that we were able to get through quite a bit of the news and keep it up to date. I still have some things, like I said, that I'm following up on, and I know there will be more, before Friday, but I'll do my part and go get some good updates on some of the things that I mentioned.
All right. Sounds good. Sounds very, very good.
Let the coughs out, Dave. Let them out.
Yeah, that was weird. All of a sudden, I felt like I had like no air in my lungs, and I was like, how do I breathe? How do I speak? But if I breathe, I'm going to cough. I don't want to cough. I need to speak right now. Oh, so stressful. The things that go through my brain at times.
I want to tell you something, and this isn't for you necessarily, but one of the things I learned in graduate school is that most individuals who have anxiety and they're unaware of it, it's due to a breathing related issue.
Yeah.
Just a
Well, the
little
good part about it is this: if anybody noticed it, if you're counting at home, it's about the first show in a month that I haven't dozed off. I'm only day 2 on my CPAP.
Day 2, groundbreaking stuff. Keep up the good work, my man.
I'm actually kind of happy about that. Very happy about
Very
that.
good. Yeah, I've heard it changes people's lives and they get sleep, like clinical sleep for the first time in years. So sounds like you might be on that track.
You know what? I got to give a shout out to my man, Sweet Robbie G. I didn't know that he was on a CPAP as well. And I was talking to him about it. And he really encouraged me, along with my friend Mark, who has one. They really encouraged me about how quickly my life was going to change with getting more air into my system. And like my friend Mark, actually both him and Rob stated, like, dude, it's going to be like instantaneous, like a day or two. And then all of a sudden you're going to be like, holy cow, I'm awake.
Oh, and probably clear. Your awareness is probably really clear and crisp, and you probably have a little more energy. I mean, there's going to be untold benefits probably that you'll see as you go forward. Keep doing it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it'll be a lifetime thing for me now.
Good. I'm glad it's working for you, and I'm glad you're feeling it. That's awesome.
Yeah. I'm excited to see, like I said, I got my gym membership back now, and I'm going to go back to the gym starting on Friday. And I'm excited to see how it changes my workouts at the gym and everything, because I got to restart from scratch. I just let myself go so bad. So I got to start with cardio before I could start hitting the weight.
I'll be your big cheerleader. I'll be your accountability buddy. We can do check-ins and I'll be like, how you doing? How you feeling?
Oh yeah.
Love it. I have to tell you, there's this show I was watching. I started watching when I was traveling from Alaska. It's back here to PA. And I saw it on Netflix. Are you a TV watcher at all? I can't imagine you have any time to watch TV, but
barely.
Well, there's this show that just launched on Netflix called Louder Milk, and I started watching that. And the front cover of it is a woman on a couch with a CPAP machine, and she's all like splayed out over this guy who is basically her sponsor. And it's a great show, and they really bring the CPAP machine into it. It's funny. I wanted to tell you about because I'm like, oh my gosh, they had her snoring, and it was just like an elephant. And they go into the CPAP machine, is what I'm saying. It's a funny portrayal of being a CPAP user.
You know what? I get the air in my nose. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
Finally breathe. I can breathe again.
Yes. Well, this has been very energizing for me. So I need to back my energy back down again and get back to sleep for a few hours before it's morning time here in PA. So I will see you on Friday. I'll be all ready to go.
I can't wait. You're the best, Courtney.
Yay.
Thank
See
you.
you, Dave.
And,
Thanks for having me. Bye, everybody.
One quick favor before you leave. Tell everybody your new
You bet.
YouTube channel.
You bet. Oh, it's Anomalous Debates here. Anomalous. We're doing roundtable discussions and debates between people in the community who are subject matter experts. So if you have any UFO topics you want us to cover, let me know and I'll put it in the programming. Thanks for that, bud. I appreciate it.
Anytime.
All right. Bye,
You're the best.
everybody.
Take care. Courtney Marcassani, everybody. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's fun. Fun times. Mm-hmm. All right. Big thank you tonight to Louie, Jennifer ×2, Monica, Deb, and FaZe Will for the super chats. Very much appreciate the love. And I'm going to call it the night here because I have to get this edited and then off to our radio stations. And you guys need to get to bed. It's late. So you guys go do your thing. We'll see you tomorrow night on the show. Who's our guest tomorrow night? Hauntings. Jake Rice is going to join us. I think there might be a Merle sighting tomorrow as well. Merle. God, we love that Merle, man. Yeah, he's pretty awesome. So we'll see them tomorrow night as well. Merle won't be here for the full show, but some of it at least. We'll see you all tomorrow night. And don't forget, info@spacedoutradio.com. Info@spacedoutradio.com. That's where you can now reserve your tickets for the SOR fan party in Reno, Nevada, May 10th through 12th. We want to see each and every one of you there. All right. See you soon. About just under 21 hours from now. Good night.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.